G'day everyone. How are you doing? Thanks for being in the chat room. Sorry I'm a little bit late. Before we get started, I might just play a 4-minute song. Hope you enjoy.
Oh yeah. Hey Christopher. Thought the spotlight would last
G'day
forever.
everyone. How are you doing? Thanks for being in the
Now
chat
the
room.
whole
Sorry I'm a
world's
little...
watching. Let's go. Walked in flashing all that gold. Thought the story would never get old. Private jets and designer shoes. Now it's breaking evening news. Selling dreams from stage to stage. Writing promises on every page. Everybody bought the fantasy. Now the truth's on national TV. Ooh, hear those sirens calling. Every diamond know it's falling. Thought the music would never stop. Now the beat goes knock, knock, knock. Every time that courtroom door swings wide, I hear blue lights flashing in my mind. Thought you wrote yourself a masterpiece. Now you're reading guilty pleas. Yeah, the gavel goes bang. Hear the courtroom sing. Yeah, the handcuffs go clink. Makes the whole room think. Ooh, that's the sound they bring. Crypto wallets leave a trail. Blockchains always tell the tale. Every transfer, every coin. Now investigators join. Funny how the heroes hide when the paperwork arrives. Funny how the loudest crowd suddenly ain't talking loud. Ooh, hear those whispers growing. Everybody's nervous knowing what confessions start to change. Now they're wondering who's name. Every time that courtroom door swings wide, I hear blue lights flashing in my mind. Built an empire on borrowed time. Now you're running out of time. Yeah, the gavel goes bang. Hear the courtroom sing. Yeah, the headlines roll. Taking quite a toll. Ooh, who's the next to fold? No more penthouse celebrations, only legal conversations. No more selfies, no champagne, just another prison train. If the phones stop ringing now, who'll explain the why and how? Every promise has a cost. Every shortcut ends up lost. Hey Christopher,
Thank you.
remember all those standing ovations? Now it's all right. Every time that the truth comes out, you can hear the whole room shouting loud. Justice doesn't care about the crowd. Every blockchain sings out loud. Yeah, the gavel goes bang. Hear the echoes ring. Yeah, the truth rolls on. Long after you're gone, the wallets don't forget. The victims won't forget. The blockchain won't forget. Who's singing now? Hey Christopher, you love the spotlight. Now you got front row seats to Orange County. Game over.
Wow. Well, it's going to start again in a second. We don't stop it. So if you haven't checked out my music, please do. It's in the blog that we're about to read. It's been a good last couple of days. I've actually been absolutely blinder of a week. Lots of messages from people, and thank you to all the people that entrusted myself and the Avengers with the information they gave us about Goliath Ventures, because this guy is pleaded guilty to everything that we have said. Everything we've accused this guy of, he's pleaded guilty. And the plea deal is a good thing. It's not just a few words saying he pleaded guilty. Now, some of the other news agencies out there, not to name them, have claimed that they were first to break the news. Well, we had the news first, but because of my blinder of a week, I haven't had a chance to actually get this news and give it the justice it deserves. So today I have a blinder of a live for you. I will break this into as much good stuff as I can. There's good stuff in here for people that have lost money. There's good stuff in here for people that want justice. And there's good stuff in this blog for people who want justice from the co-conspirators. Now, that's a term that my Avengers have been using for a while, and now we've seen it in the court documents. If I was promoting Goliath Ventures to my friends and family, I would be very concerned, because this plea deal, in a nutshell, is actually making Christopher spill the beans. And if he doesn't spill the beans, he doesn't speak freely, then he's going to spend 50 years in prison. Now, he's 34, 35. That's an old man coming out of prison after spending 50 years in the prison. And I'm guessing with all his cosmetic surgery that he's had done to make himself look like a nice, pretty man, it's not a good place for him to be in. So he won't want to be in there too long. And I won't make any mention about soap on a rope. But anyway, all right. So what I want to do now is I want to get started with the introduction. And I'm a little bit pumped. I've actually read this blog that we're about to do 3 times and tried to get the information as fluent for me to express it to you how good this is. So let's start and get this ball on the roll. A ball on the roll. Already got muck-ups. Hello, I'm Danny the Heck. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for being here on my live. For months, people have been asking the same question. Would Christopher ever be charged? Would he fight those allegations? And what does it mean for everyone else involved in Goliath Ventures?
New donation from Let's Go Danny Boy and the Avengers.
I know that's you, Richard. Thank you very much for the donation. That's awesome. I can tell by the way you wrote there. I'm just guessing, but I think that was from, let's just call yourself the Raptor. But today we can finally answer those questions. This isn't another news repeating headlines you've already seen. I've spent months investigating Goliath Ventures, and I say I, but I always mean myself and my team of Avengers, because we're amazing. Reviewing court records, bankrupt filings, blockchain evidence, and speaking with the victims. I've investigated this. In this investigation, I'll break down what Christopher Delgado actually admitted while the federal government negotiated a plea deal, and what it means for those alleged co-conspirators, and why I believe this case is entering the most significant phase yet. If you've lost money, promoted Goliath, or simply want to understand what the court documents really say, I think you're going to find this information here that the mainstream media simply hasn't had time to explain beneficial for yourself. Now, you can find a lot of the information that we have on my website, deheck.com. In fact, I've published over 2,000 blogs in my time. And to be honest, most of my website is actually about travel and tourism, which I used to do. But recently, in the last 5 years, I've been publishing numerous blogs about Ponzi schemes and scams that we've been exposing and publishing the content on my website. So we have about 500-600 blogs on the internet at the moment. And we also have people like Queen of Karma who publish her content on my website. She exposes cults and she's anti-MLM, and so am I. And also we expose myself. I'm more about Ponzi schemes and scams. Every article that you see on the homepage of the website is our latest, and some of them we do amazing deep dives and gather a lot of information. And our goal is to help people from getting scammed. We help people identify this is a red flag. A lot of people don't listen to us until they're at the bottom of the cliff. So my team of Avengers, we're here to be at the top of the cliff. Not only are we warning people about listening about these investment opportunities, we're also trying to stop the people, and we go head to head with people like Christopher and his merry men. So everyone that you see in the photo here is a co-conspirator. Just Punit Shaw, he recruited 500 people into Goliath. Nick Petrillo, which is behind Christopher, who's going to jail, he had 900 people that he recruited into Goliath Ventures. I'm not going to name them all because we named them in this here, but every single person that's in this photo is somebody who needs to do jail time for promoting something. Now, this blog speaks for itself. I've listened to it a couple of times. It couldn't be put any better. This is a scholar of words. So in here at the start, you've got your photo. Next minute, you've got the thumbnail to the video that I'm recording live right now. And then we've even got our lovely song here where you can go and listen to these songs. We've also included the charging document and the plea agreement. So the process was he got formally indicted. There was a plea agreement, and then Christopher pleaded guilty. So everything that we have accused Goliath Ventures of, where they've tried to defend themselves, all the co-conspirators, all their lies that they have been telling people to keep the illusion alive, is going to be extremely hard for them to say that Christopher's not guilty. So the man driving the bus of Goliath Ventures has pleaded he is guilty of everything that he's been charged with. That is just amazing news, ladies and gentlemen. You can't get any better than that. So if I was playing basketball, this would be a three-pointer. This is the winning score point. This is nailing the coffin home for anybody that believes that Goliath Ventures was even running a legitimate business of some form. This plea agreement says that they are lying. You just cannot get any better than this result. It was risky for us to even expose Christopher because he had more money than a bull could shit. Well, he had more of your money than a bull could shit, and he was using it to fight people like me off. Remember, the first agreement, he offered me $150,000 to stop investigating him. And then he
New
came back.
donation from Congrats Queen of Karma's daughter who graduated.
Oh, Queen of Karma's daughter's graduated. And there's also another one of our Avengers whose daughter is having her very last day at school today. So that's really, really nice. My Avengers are amazing. My Avengers make me. And also, this has actually catapulted me and my Avengers into another category of scam fighting, which in the next few months you'll find out what I'm talking about. But there's some really exciting things happening. Now, we're not doing this for clicks. We're not doing this for exposure. We're really doing it for the victims. Now, this purpose of this blog is really to make you think if you have received any payments, we're still a lot of tracking going on. Coffee time. Look, also, while you're here, guys, just make sure that you are subscribed to the YouTube channel. I'll do all that sort of stuff. It means a lot. If you're watching this and you haven't subscribed, hit that bell and you'll be notified when I go live. And I always like to say thank you to everybody that signs up. So I have Sadie. She doesn't get paid anything around here, but she's always willing to clean the screen of your computer. And I really like Sadie. She does a really good job. But do that. So a guilty plea does not end the investigation. Because you think, oh, he's pleaded guilty and everything stops. Sometimes it's the moment the investigation becomes even more important. Now, when I do my blogs, I always try to get a Danny quote at the start there to give you the purpose of what we're about to do. So when I first started investigating Goliath Ventures, and if you don't know, I am going to click on this Goliath Ventures link, because if you are a journalist or if you are somebody from the media and you want the scoop, you can still go in here and get Goliath Ventures phone numbers from all the people. You can see when we did our first investigation on the 3rd of September, and you will see how prevalent that is. So on the 1st of September, we started investigating this. And on the 3rd of December, we published our first article about Goliath Ventures. And it's been a journey of around about, I think we're up to over 60 blogs and probably 80 to 90 videos that we've done on it. But all those blogs, we've even been on CoffeeZilla. He's had 4.1 million views on that video that was published just over about 5 weeks ago now. I also document my whole journey of when I went to America, and how I went to continue the investigation and how risky it was for me to actually go to America and the like. And in this video, you won't see, but I actually went to Orlando. I even had a fun day at the park, and I walked around the streets of Orlando. And, to be honest, that was a really scary thing to do. And the very last place I should have actually turned up is in America. I did go to other places in the fun park, but I had a day to kill. But every day I was there, we just had an adventure, even right down to this. Watch this. This is amazing. Listen to this.
It's like, oh, Denny's is open? No. The only Denny's in the whole country that's not open.
We've got one Denny's in Christchurch where I live.
They might actually be
He's
open.
got his gun. He just took off.
Whoa!
Wait, we'll take the video.
Whoa, we got that on video, dude. Well, let's sit right here.
So we even got involved in a policeman chasing somebody who just pulled a gun on them. We went 30 k's down the road, and I went into the ladies' toilets because I couldn't find the men's toilets. Didn't know I was in the ladies' toilets, to be honest. And the next minute, Richard's Red Raptors inside. I hadn't eaten for about 24 hours.
Sound for you again.
And we just saw a gun pulled, a police chase. We followed them 30 miles down the road, literally. Richard's got these cool seats in his truck. Met the police officers. I thought I was going to be in trouble because I was in the ladies' toilet. Next minute, we just saw a gun pulled. Somebody fled from the police. And then we dropped in to get some food because I haven't eaten for 24 hours.
Yeah, he needs documents.
And the two officers here were the same officers that were chasing the bad guy.
Wow.
And we've turned up in the supermarket. Well, is it supermarket?
It's a truck stop.
Truck stop. Yeah, so the whole adventure, it wasn't just a venture, it was an investigation of a lifetime. We called it from the start. We gave you the latest news. We explained the documents. We helped the victims. We've identified the blockchain addresses. Every aspect of what Goliath Ventures was done by my team of Avengers. And we put it out there. We took the risk. We got filings and court cases. And now this is like the bow, the icing on the cake, the cherry on the top. And it's been an emotional roller coaster for everyone who's been part of this, whether you're an investor, an investigator, or somebody who's just been supporting our journey and what we've been doing. And I can only say thank you to the people because I've put everything into this. I was on the phone for an hour this morning with one of my Avengers. We're still investigating this. We still need those crypto wallet addresses. We have just tapped into another bigger investigation we believe that this is all part of. So, there's going to be some big announcements coming out. And I do believe that my team of investigators are just world-class. And we might be getting some recognition for that in the not-too-distant future. So when I first started investigating Goliath Ventures, I wasn't trying to prove it was a Ponzi scheme. I was trying to answer a much simpler question. Where was investors' money actually going? Because we saw a lot of lifestyle marketing. What followed was months of reviewing investors' presentations, bankrupt filings, court records, internal communications, and testimonies from victims who trusted the company with their savings. The deeper I dug, the more difficult it became to reconcile the polished public image, Goliath Ventures, with the evidence emerging behind the scenes. So they were still out there. I mean, just think about this on the, I can't remember now, I think it's on the 10th or the 12th of December 2025, they held a $9 million party. A $9 million party. And we've heard, I can't confirm this, but Jason Derulo didn't get paid. We believe he's one of the persons who's filed a proof of claim. Could be wrong, but my investigation shows that the singer that Christopher was walking around like a wee puppy behind all the time hasn't been paid for that venue, for that last When the Fat Lady Sings song. I don't know. Anyway, and if you haven't noticed, the music that we were playing earlier on was a bit of a rip-off of the When the Trumpets Blow song. So I used some sort of similar sound to that when I was putting that together. And somebody said in the comments when we was playing that music, we need it in my voice. And I think that is the silliest thing anyone's ever said. You don't want to hear my voice singing, but there's possibilities out there. All right, then came the moment many people had been waiting for. Christopher Delgado, the founder and CEO of Goliath Ventures, has now pleaded guilty in the United States to conspiracy to commit wire fraud. Wire fraud and money laundering. His guilty plea followed the filing of the federal information, formally charging him with those offences. He included the federal information charging. I've included the federal information charging document in this article, so you can read exactly what prosecutors alleged before Delgado admitted guilt. It is honestly, this is 20 pages of accusing this guy of, let's say, that one of the most heinous crimes you can do, taking people's 401k. Getting people to mortgage their houses, getting people to be forced. If you invested in this, they come up with this thing that the minimum investment was $100,000. There was a lot of firemen who invested in this who were putting 30, 40, 50,000 in, and then they said that we need to squeeze you up to 100,000. So they pulled their money together, and they weren't allowed to do this to get up to the 100,000 threshold. So they overcommitted themselves so they could get into this too good to be true investment opportunity. And then they realize that their money gets hyper compounded because they've been blowing it on lifestyle marketing. So this report, basically, if you go through it, you can see the heinous investments that Christopher Delgado and his co-conspirators have done. It is disgusting. As I always say, these people that we fight are the bottom feeders on the planet. This document here and all the assets that he has accumulated have been stolen from people. The money's been stolen, and he's bought it, bought stupid things like cars that no one in their right mind would even be able to get the full enjoyment out of it. Lamborghinis, Rolls Royces, Bentleys, Lincoln Navigators, whatever that is, Mercedes-Benz, Rolls Royce, whatever they're called. I don't even know the names. I don't even know the flash stuff that he used to have because I'm not in that lifestyle. But he's used your money and spent it all on lifestyle marketing. I want this guy to get 50 years in prison, and I reckon he's going to. And you'll see why as we read on. Anyway, so we've got the whole document, is that a word? The whole document, and you can read exactly what the prosecutor alleged before Christopher admitted guilt. So they've charged him. He sat there and said, yep, I did it. Everything you said, I've done the whole lot. I've also included Christopher Delgado's plea agreement, which records in his own words and under oath. He has now admitted the obligations he has accepted. Sorry, I'm going to just get my computer to read that.
The obligations he has accepted, and why I believe this marks the beginning of a new phase in the federal investigation.
Yeah, so he's now got obligations. That's what I'm trying to say. And he's now has to do things or else. This is another history lesson about Goliath Ventures. I've already written exclusively about how the company was promoted. Sorry, I'm seeing things wrong because I'm quite excited today. This isn't another history lesson about Goliath Ventures. I've already done this. You don't need to know exactly what they've done. The promise made to investors, the warning signs that many people didn't recognize until it was too late. This article is about something more important. So this is what we're really focusing on today. And this is why I really, really, really want you guys to focus. What exactly did Christopher Delgado admit? Why did he choose to plead guilty? What does this agreement to cooperate mean for federal investigators? And what does all of this mean for the victims? And that's who we work for. And for people, prosecutors, some of the words I just can't pronounce.
Prosecutors repeatedly describe as co-conspirators.
I have never heard of the word hyper compounding before Christopher told everyone he had no money left, but don't worry, we're going to hyper compound your money. But I reckon that federal investigators had never been using the word co-conspirators until the Avengers started putting it on our content. We know, and we've been told, that they watch our videos. So I'd like to have a round of applause to all the investigators who are on the who get paid to actually investigate these guys and put together these documents and submit them to the courts. because you are sometimes the unsung heroes. You don't get to get the recognition for your hard work, but you've done an amazing job making sure that you follow every letter of the law, and you've ticked every I and you've crossed every T. And that is what we need. I may be considered a little bit reckless, but we are at the top of the cliff. We're in the trenches fighting these guys head to head. They threaten us. They come after us. They try and stop us. They bribe us. They smear campaign to us. They copyright strike our videos. They did denial server attacks on my website for 2 months solid, where I had to spend money to stay alive, to stay afloat. I had my TikTok account closed. I lost iMessage on my phone, so I couldn't use it because they report me. And the AI people that I fight against just don't listen. So, I lost lots. I've lost all my social media. My Facebook page went after having a Facebook page for so many years. I don't care anymore. Get rid of Facebook, trust me. But everything they could do, they threw at us. But I don't believe any federal investigators have that happen to them. But we're in the trenches. We've picked that job. We go after these people head to head. We take the risk in the courtroom. I was in the New Zealand High Court on Tuesday morning defending myself against a scammer. And the judge had no idea really about how hard it is in these trenches that we fight. And to be honest, I don't even think I've won. It's just you have to defend yourself with a system that's archaic, doesn't understand what we fight against, doesn't understand how big a scam that Christopher Delgado and Goliath Ventures was. Maybe they don't understand the blockchain and everything, how it all works. But, and more importantly, we believe that disruption's the only real key here. So anyway, what does this mean for victims and for people? I don't know that word.
Prosecutors.
Prosecutors, repeatedly described as co-conspirators. Right, after reading both court documents and comparing them with everything I've uncovered over the past several months, I don't believe Christopher Delgado's guilty plea marks the end of Goliath Ventures' investigation. In fact, it's honestly, my own words, unscripted, is actually the beginning. I believe it's the point when the investigation enters an entirely new phase. Now, you won't believe me. I did actually want to go to America. I do want to be in America when Christopher gets sentenced. And I want to see what sentence he gets after all this plea deal stuff goes on. Now, I do want to be in the courtroom on the 30th. Now, it's got the wrong date. That's why my brain didn't actually register that, because that's American dates. You guys spell it backwards. But in New Zealand, we actually call it the 30th of the 6th month, 2026. America's driving on the wrong side of the road, and you get your dates around the wrong way. But we will have many Avengers in the courtroom on the notice of hearing. So we are being represented by Avengers that have helped us in the investigation. They will be in the courtroom on, I think, next Wednesday, and they will be listening to the plead hearing where Christopher will be there, where he's agreed to basically spill the beans and do the whole 9 yards, which is pretty amazing. But I do want to be in the courtroom when he gets sentenced. So if you do want to support me in my channel, now's the time to do it. Because I would like to be able to have enough money to get myself there. And lots of other things are happening at the same time, which is quite exciting. So how did we get here? When I published the first investigation into Goliath Ventures back in September 2025, the 3rd of September, as I mentioned, the company was presenting itself as a sophisticated cryptocurrency investment business, telling people that their funds were being deployed into decentralized finance DeFi liquidity pools, capable of producing consistent monthly returns while protecting their capital. Now, we were talking monthly returns between 3 and 8 and even more % per month. On the surface, everything looked convincing. Well, not to the untrained eye. To the untrained eye, it did. But as I began examining the evidence more closely, one simple question kept coming back to me. Where was the investors' money actually going? There were luxury homes, exotic cars, and private jets. Now, it doesn't take Einstein to figure out that if somebody's spending what looks like $25 million a year on their lifestyle, then they would have to turn over at least $75 million a year just to sustain the spend. So it was obvious straight away, just looking at the evidence at a glance, that it doesn't add up. Political connections, charitable donations, 15 charities are going to be hurt by Christopher. They're all advertised on his homepage to give him credibility and basically endorsements. It was exactly the kind of image many investors associate with a successful business. But the more presentations I watched, the more contracts I reviewed, the more victims I spoke with, the harder it became to reconcile that polished public image with the evidence I was uncovering. So what they were getting, it just didn't add up. Nothing added up, didn't make sense. It wasn't rocket science. As the investigator gathered momentum, a pattern began to emerge. More victims came forward, more internal documents surfaced, bankrupt filings exposed new information. Receivers were appointed, federal investigators stepped in, civil forfeiture proceedings were following. Each development answered the same question. But it raised new ones. The biggest of them was whether Christopher Delgado would continue to deny responsibility or whether federal prosecutors would eventually prove their case in court. So here they are. Christopher hasn't pleaded guilty, and they had to prove wrongdoing. On June the 23rd, 2026, he finally had the answer. Christopher Delgado signed a 56-page federal plea agreement admitting his role as the organizer and leader of the conspiracy. For victims, this wasn't simply another court filing. It was the first time the founder, Goliath Ventures, admitted under oath to criminal conduct that had been at the center of the investigations for months. I say something really exciting. I was watching Channel 9 News, and Darlene Jones said that they have had all their video evidence subpoenaed. So now what they need to do is make sure if Christopher doesn't tell the truth and they're subpoenaing all the interviews he did with the reporter and he's trying to hide something or mislead them in some form, he's going to be spending 50 years of his life in prison. And that's good. And the fact that they've filmed him for weeks, so she said, and now they've had to hand over all the footage. I don't know if you've ever been on TV. I have. They often record everything and edit the hell out of it. So there's going to be a whole lots of conversations that may be recorded on mic that maybe haven't been on the news yet, that the investigators will now try to trip Chris up with. And that evidence has been subpoenaed, which is great. So thank you, Channel 9 News. You may be getting my favour. You may be getting back at my good books. Christopher Delgado has now admitted the fraud. The guilty plea itself was only a few words. The 56-page plea agreement tells a much bigger story, and that's what this blog is all about. As I worked through the document, one thing became immediately clear. Christopher Delgado wasn't admitting to making poor business decisions or acknowledging that Goliath Ventures has actually failed. Now that there to me is so massive because all these co-conspirators, and this is me speaking freely, all these co-conspirators have been claiming that they were running a legitimate business. But there's no legitimate business here. This is completely... He admitted to committing 3 serious federal offences. Conspiracy to commit wire fraud and money laundering. They're the things that every good Ponzi scheme or scam has. But admitting to those is making it so much easier for the investigators now. More importantly, he admitted that he was the organizer and leader of a conspiracy involving at least 5 participants. Who are they? I'm going to have a guess. Nick Petrillo? You might think Nick Petrillo, but this is our take, and I'll say what I'm thinking. Nick Petrillo had a separate company called 21 Ventures. Let's see if they do another, what do they call it? Another set of charges going after the owner of the company, 21 Ventures. Now, we've heard that Nick has stopped doing any social media. It's like the whole family's gone into hiding. So let's say Goliath Ventures Inc., because remember, they're two different entities. Just imagine that they're doing a whole new investigation on 21 Ventures. Goliath Ventures has been done. So maybe one of the 5 participants isn't Nick. What about people like Pierce Curry or Matt Burks, who had a company called My Black Block, not to be mistaken as My Black Rock, or MD Wealth Management, MD Wealth Doctors. They're different entities. So maybe, and we don't know this, but maybe they're going after each company individually. So when you see 5 participants, you're thinking, well, Danny keeps saying there's 27 co-conspirators. But maybe they're breaking the investigation into chunks. And rather than having, a big cake, we're going to have mini cakes, and this is why I think this is so cool, because Christopher's theoretically now being held by the short and curlies. He has to help with the investigation or he's going to spend 50 years of his life in prison. That is a significant admission because it confirms the government case has never been about one individual acting alone. Now, I just got an email just before and a message sent to me and somebody said, has anyone else been indicted? And I go, well, it doesn't quite work like that. They get charged, then they get indicted, and then they often plead guilty, blah, blah, blah. And all the way through, everyone's been asking Danny, don't forget, somebody sent me a message, don't forget Alex. And I'll show you Alex in a few times. I go, I haven't forgotten Alex. We haven't forgotten any of them. We've got a database of over 330 people, investors and co-conspirators. We've just pushed 27 people up to the top of the co-conspirator list because we've seen them in all the advertising. They were part of the band. For months, regulators, what have we got? So for months, many supporters argued that Goliath Ventures had been misunderstood and the cryptocurrency market had turned against the business, or that regulators had acted too aggressively. So that at one point, I had somebody abusing me on the internet, saying that I'm the reason that Goliath Ventures fell over because I've frozen bank accounts. How ridiculous is that? I don't freeze bank accounts, but I do know how to contact banks and ask them to check whether there's a suspicious activity going on a bank account where somebody's just deposited $250,000. Somebody deposited $250,000. We use that transaction to notify the Bank of America and they froze the bank account. We saved that person, theoretically, $250,000. Now, that money might be frozen, but I believe that person will get that money back. Then that person decided to not communicate with us for some reason because they thought whatever it was. But 2 weeks later, they come back to us, oh, how do I get my $250,000 back now? You've saved my money, because they realized that we saved it from a scam. It was pretty amazing. But anyway, we used that transaction to stop the banks. But people were arguing with us at the time that the reason the company failed was because of all the interference they got from people like me. But they didn't have a company. Those arguments become much harder to sustain when the founder himself admits under oath that he led the conspiracy described by the federal prosecutors. So read the 56-page document, or the 20-page document in that case. This is no longer simply a disagreement between critics and promoters, nor is it just the government's version of events. These are Christopher Delgado's own admission contained within a signed federal court document. So all those people who didn't believe the Avengers, how do you like those apples? It's all worth understanding. It's also worth understanding that this guilt plea does not do what it does not do. So what does this plea deal not do? It does not identify every person who may have been involved. It does not explain every dollar where every dollar ultimately went. It does not guarantee victims will recover their losses. It does not bring the wider investigation to an end. What it does do is remove one of the biggest uncertainties hanging over the case. The founder of Goliath Ventures has now accepted criminal responsibility, allowing the federal investigators to focus their attention on the next stage of the investigation, rather than spending their time proving whether the fraud occurred in the first place. So we've just gone into the messy office and swept everything to the side, and God, now we can focus on the good shit. Things are moving faster now. We're not hanging, waiting for Christopher to say, yes, I was running a fraud. We don't have to sit there and argue with him. We don't have to listen to the co-conspirators doing secret recordings to investors saying that their friend who was in the FBI for 35,000 million years knows all about this shit. I'm talking about you, Jonathan Mason. All your 17 minutes of recorded conversations that we've got on our YouTube channel. How do you like those apples now, my friend? All the people that were in my chat rooms yelling at me, telling me I don't know what I'm talking about. How do you like those apples now? Why Christopher Delgado didn't go to trial is an obvious question for a lot of laymen out there, like me. I want to know, why didn't he go to trial and try to defend himself? Would he have been better going to trial? Would he have got less than 50 years? That's what I'd be thinking. One question that will eventually be asked is why Christopher Delgado chose to plead guilty instead of taking his chance before a jury. The simple answer is that we don't know exactly what decision took place with his legal team and the federal prosecutors. Those conversations happen behind closed doors. What we do know is that plea agreement. What we do know is what the plea agreement tells us, so we can see what they've agreed to. By pleading guilty, Christopher accepts responsibility for the offences, avoided what could have been a lengthy and expensive federal trial, and placed himself in a position where the court may consider his acceptance of responsibility and any meaningful cooperation when it eventually determines his sentence. So it may work out better for him. He may not get 50 years. He may get 49. None of that guarantees a lighter sentence. But it does explain why plea agreements are so common in complex financial crime cases. They allow prosecutors to secure convictions while continuing to investigate the wider conspiracy. For me, the timing is just as interesting as the decision itself. The federal information was filed, the plea agreement quickly followed, and the court moved rapidly towards a plea hearing. It's going to be next Wednesday. Whether those decisions have been taking place for weeks, months beforehand, we simply don't know. However, but the sentence of events suggests it wasn't a last-minute change of heart. It appears to have been part of a much broader strategy that now allows investigators to focus less on proving Christopher Delgado's guilt and more on the investigation, where the investigation goes next. Now, we heard that about a month before Christopher was formally charged, he was actually already helping investigators. We knew probably two and a half months beforehand that they were, going through the bank records. We also heard that they had 30 bank accounts. We knew that they were definitely with 3 banks. We've now found out they were 4 banks. We were investigating Lumina Bank. I'm not quite saying that right, but it's a new bank that was in Florida. And we were following every smoking gun that we could, which is quite interesting. So we knew that the investigation was going on before Christopher was charged, and we also knew that Christopher was helping out. That's why he could drive to the court case in his Rolls Royce, and that's probably why he's still living in this $8.5 million mansion. Don't know. Anyway, I'm not saying too much with my lovely the people with Lord of tattoos. Yeah, there's some good stuff coming out here. Oh, look at you guys, you poor guys. I haven't got my chat room on the windows. You guys are getting no glory. Look at this. Chat room's busy. Now, why is that above my head? I'll just move that down one. There we go. So the chat room's on there. So we've got a lot of comments coming in. We've actually had 134 comments already. I'm sorry I haven't been reading through them. The company was a lie. They've been, they've even pretended to have tech support when their accounts went down. Oh my goodness. Most of these schemes don't have any support, just them on the other side. I'm not reading that right. Hey, I'm a bit excited today. I'm not going to lose my flow, but sorry I didn't have the chat room on the screen. I get a bit excited sometimes. If there's anything else, hopefully I'm not echoing and I'm sounding pretty good today. So if the plea offer was for, say, 20 years, if you take it to trial and lose, you're basically guaranteed to get more time than 20. Well, there's another thing happened too. Luminate Bank, thank you very much. There is another thing too. I'll just put the name of the bank on there because Susie's got that there. The other thing, now how does that work? Remember Murdoch, who made off with a lot of money? He actually got 150 years because they went after 401k, retirement money. Now, Goliath Ventures. Now, Matt Burke, I tell you, Matt Burke's the one I'm really going to be interested in because he set up a business. We've got him on video admitting that they're targeting 401k money. Now, each offence of going after someone's retirement money is 30 years. So even though Christopher's got 50 years, it's actually probably not as bad as Murdoch got. He got 150 years. 50 years, if Christopher gets out at 85 years of age, it doesn't bother me. I'll be there to meet him if I'm still around. Don't think I will be. But anyway, long story short, plea deals are pretty cool. All right, let's carry on. Why this plea deal changes everything. When the indictment was unsealed, it was obvious the government believed it had to build a strong case against Christopher Delgado. What wasn't obvious was whether he would fight those allegations all the way to the trial, or decided to cooperate with federal prosecutors was in his best interest. I think I said that wrong, but I think you'll get the gist of it. But basically, it's not rocket science, this, but they had to build a strong case. But now he's admitted everything. They don't have to spend all that time and energy. So now he can start cooperating with the prosecutors because that's going to be his best, in his best interest. The answer arrived just 2 days after when he signed the plea agreement. That decision did not simply change the future, it changed the direction of the entire investigation. So this is actually really good. And this is probably the most interesting part of what Christopher's actually done. I believe his exit strategy was always something like this anyway. I don't think it's rocket science. The guilty plea is the headline. The cooperation agreement is the real story. So human nature, we watch too many movies, don't we? And somebody pleads guilty and you think, boom. But it's the cooperation agreement he's now signed. He's signed an agreement with the government to actually unravel everything. So if I'm sitting there thinking, wow, I wasn't really involved. I just went on a few flights with him and I got a few of my mates to invest and I told a few people, maybe I ran a few Zoom meetings and encouraged people to invest into this private equity company. I would be sweating like a rapist right now. Most people naturally focus on the word plead guilty. I found myself focusing on everything that came after those words. The agreement does not simply require Delgado, which I'm so glad I can say now, to admit his crimes. It requires him to help the government understand the full extent of what happened. Any question that they want to know about his company and his dealing, he has to answer, or he's going to get nailed for 50 years in jail. That's breathtaking, guys. Where's the money, Chris? Oh, well, I'm not sure. Well, 50 years in prison. Under that agreement, Christopher Delgado committed to answer investors' questions truthfully. Is he an honest man? Will he answer them truthfully? Well, if he gets caught out. Now imagine this. Channel 9 News have gone in there. Christopher, despite all his lawyers, not even asking lawyers' opinions, mics up and they film him for at least a couple of weeks. And now all that filming has been subpoenaed. And now Christopher has to make sure he's got his story straight. Now, let's say Christopher is a good man and he really was trying his best to run his business. No, he wasn't. He's admitted that he's a crook. Anyway, if he has tried to manipulate or run a story down a certain he has to have a brilliant story to stop himself from being tripped up. Anyone in their right mind now would just say, look, I'm just going to be here available. I'm going to be truthful. Why would he risk lying now? He has to provide documents, records, and other evidence. Identifying assets under the control or his knowledge. So he might have bought mum and dad a flash $150,000 car, and they're going to ask him, how did you get the money to pay for mum and dad's $150,000 car? And he'll have to tell them. And if it's come from investors' payments, which he's had no money beforehand, participate in interviews whenever requested. So he might not be in a cell block all his day. He might be he might just have to get a room for him in the FBI office. Testify before grand duty or at future trials if required. So what grand jury and what future trials? The co-conspirators, I bet you'd be sweating now. I won't say that word again. Those aren't optional conditions. They are ongoing legal obligations. If Delgado fails to cooperate, lies to investigators, or deliberately withholds information, he risks losing any of the benefits negotiated as part of the plea agreement. That's one of the reasons these agreements are such powerful tools for federal prosecutors. They don't just secure conviction, but they help investigators build the next stage of the case. It's only just beginning. As I finished reading this section of the plea agreement, one thing kept coming back to me. This investigation is no longer about proving whether Christopher Delgado is guilty. It's about discovering everything and everyone that sat behind Goliath Ventures. Everybody. Patrick Bet David took $1 million of Goliath Ventures and let that guy stand on stage and promote his wares to his audience without doing due diligence. I may not be the best investigator in the world, but it took me 3 minutes of reading that contract that he was giving people to sign before I realized he's running a large-scale Ponzi scheme or scam. Why didn't Patrick Bet David look at the 3 to 8% returns he was paying investors and not question it? I'm not saying that Patrick Bet David is a co-conspirator, but I'm saying there's a lot of people out there that associated and endorse bad behaviour, and we've had enough. Why federal prosecutors offered a plea agreement? Why didn't they take him to trial? The one question that naturally follows a guilty plea is why federal prosecutors would negotiate with someone alleged orchestrated a fraud involving hundreds of millions of dollars. To many people, it can be seemed counterintuitive. If the government believes it has a strong case, why not simply take that person to trial? The answer is a plea deal isn't a reward. It is a negotiation tool. By pleading guilty, Christopher has saved the government time, cost, and uncertainty of a lengthy trial. More importantly, he has agreed to provide something prosecutors often value just as highly as a conviction: cooperation. Under the agreement, Christopher must answer questions truthfully, provide documents and evidence, identify assets, participate in reviews, and testify whenever required. If he fails to meet those obligations or deliberately misleads investigators, trying to save his buddies, the Brotherhood, the Alpha Men, the Steve Davises, the Tomos, the Alexes, the Mikes, all these people, he's trying to save his bro club that he smoked so many cigars with, the government has options available to respond accordingly under the terms of the agreement. That's one of the reasons I keep going back to the word co-conspirators. The plea agreement does not simply close the book on Christopher Delgado. It gives federal investigators an opportunity to better understand how Goliath Ventures operated behind the scenes. Oh, I'm loving this. Now investigate how investigators' funds move throughout the business and whether others knowingly participated in the conspiracy. What do you think? Put a 7 in the chat room if you think others helped Christopher steal over $400 million from mum and dad investors. Look, we've got the recordings, we've got the receipts, we've got people telling people how to structure their home and remortgage their home so they can invest in Goliath Ventures. That didn't come from Christopher. That came from these co-conspirators. They gave financial advice. They're not regulated financial advisors. Matt Burks, Piers Curry, they used to be, but they weren't. They left their legitimate jobs and started working with Christopher and Goliath Ventures, even started up their own companies, 21 ventures. Well, I mean, we've got 20 companies that these guys have set up to run their own scam. And now we're going to eat this elephant together, ladies and gentlemen. How do you eat an elephant? One mouthful at a time. This, in my opinion, is the strongest thing that could ever happen at the end of all this saga. If Christopher didn't plead guilty, then they would be building a case. But now he said, yep, I'm a scammer. And now they're going to go after every bite of that elephant. And everyone that's associated, everyone that's set up their own company to defraud you from your money is going to be made accountable. Now, if you can't get your money back, what's the next best thing? Making the person that recommended this to you accountable for their actions. And that's what this plea agreement is doing. So please, trust me, this is a good thing. It's not just I plead guilty. It is I will help bring down the people behind Goliath Ventures who made Goliath Ventures steal over $400 million from mum and dad investors. Whether that ultimately leads to further charges remain unseen, but it's difficult to ignore the direction this investigation is now appearing to take. Obviously, I'm delighted about this. I didn't want to rush out and be the first to break the news, even though we got the news before anyone else. We just didn't have time to get this news out. We have been sitting here putting this in our pot and brewing this lovely cup of tea to present you what this actually means for a couple of 3 days. It's not about who breaks the news first, it's who delivers the news successfully. For victims, the value of the plea agreement shouldn't be measured solely by the sentence Christopher eventually receives. So I know we want to see him locked up, but everybody I speak to wants to see these co-conspirators also locked up. So let's not focus on Christopher getting, let's just say, worst scenario, Christopher gets 10 years. Okay? Worst scenario. Best scenario, he gets 40 years. No, he gets 50 years. Or, you know, we want to focus on the fact that other people can go to prison for this as well. And this will be this is a brilliant time. I saw something about Cash Patel talking about some, they've set up an organization, the Strike Force, the Scam Fighting Strike Force. This is the time where the government wants to show they're fighting back on scams. So in business, which I've been in business for 30 years, timing is everything. And you also need a bit of luck. I do not believe there's a period in time where they need to make examples of these people that are defrauding people than now. I think this is a cornerstone investigation, which I do believe it's the tip of the iceberg. We're all focused on Chris. Everyone thought Chris is getting, he's the only person getting charged here. And then all these documents come out. Now they're using Christopher to go after everyone else who's helped him facilitate this robbery. And it's a tip of the iceberg. It's really exciting stuff for people like me who do this for a living. Its revealed value, its real value may lie in the evidence that helps uncover. If he lies, he's going to prison for 50 years. If his cooperation leads to additional assets being recovered or other participants being held accountable, this agreement could prove to be one of the most significant developments in the entire Goliath Ventures case. Isn't this so cool? All right, let's ping some of these messages up on the screen. Look at that. Queen of Karma's up there. She's looking pretty cool today. Look, if if you can support us in any which way or form, you'll see a link on the bottom next to me. I think I'll go over there. It's always the wrong way. Over there, Ko-Fi account. There we do have a couple of things that you could do if you wanted to. Even if you don't want to, do it anyway. One thing I do say to people, if you go to deheck.com, you'll on the right-hand side of my website, you'll see these little boxes here called ebooks. Support sessions, sponsor. This is how you can actually give back to us, the work that we do. But if you click on ebooks, it's one I want to show you real quick. We've written 5 ebooks, and basically you can support the work that we're doing by purchasing one of those for $5. And that helps keep the wolves away from the door. And in those books, you'll get a PDF guidebook, investment scam survival guide, already invested, your exit and damage control guide, the red flag playbook, and the recovery scam survival guide, where people come after you once you've lost money and they say they can get it back for you through the crypto. It's a load of rubbish. Now, let's just use that as an example for a second. If Christopher was a crypto company, now we've found out that most of the money traveled through banks, not through crypto. So if you are getting contacted by crypto recovery agencies, there's actually no real money left on the blockchain to actually recover. And there's no such thing as people being able to hack into the blockchain and get your money back, because that is the strength of the blockchain. But anyway, we've got these booklets here. Rather than, just supporting us with $5, get something for your money, get one of those booklets. The other thing that we are doing at the moment is we've got a merch store, which we're actually doing some real cool stuff on that. We've actually just recently, I've put together Pixel here. Now, Pixel's my dog, but we put together artwork like this. So if you've got a dog and you want us to create a nice dog picture using all our expertise, we can do something like that if you want. And we don't charge for designing the art. We'll basically design the artwork, put it on a t-shirt, and when you purchase the t-shirt, we do get a commission, which helps support the channel. So just put it out there. If you've got a nice dog picture or a cat picture or an animal picture and you want us to create the artwork for you, we'll do it free of charge. We need about 5 photos of your beloved animal, close-ups, good, so we get the real good stuff. And we'll put together artwork like this, and then you don't have to purchase anything. You can look at the artwork and go, oh, it's my doggy. But if you do, then we'll put it into a t-shirt for you so you can purchase the merch, which is pretty cool. It's just another way of supporting what we're doing. And that's my sales pitch. But, this literally, when CoffeeZilla did the video, we actually got a lot of donations, and that's actually helped save us. But I'll be honest, I just about went broke. Both we have no money, but we keep going into the red, and I got to the stage where I had no money left, and then I sold a website, cleared my debt, and then we got back in debt, and then we've got some donations in, and this isn't the best financial thing I've done. I'm not doing it for the money, but I would like to sustain myself as a scam buster. All those little things, those $5 donations really do make a difference. So I'm just saying thank you if you can afford to support us, and the risk that we took. The first court case I got myself into cost me $33,600, and I'm still paying that back at $15 a week from my personal bank account. So it's not my best paying profession. But anyway, I diverse. But let's get back on this. This is a really exciting one. I don't want to lose my momentum here, but what Christopher Delgado has agreed to, just so it's really clear. One mistake I think many people will make is assuming that Christopher Delgado's only obligation was to plead guilty. In reality, the plea agreement reads like a contract between Christopher Delgado and the United States government in exchange for certain concessions. He has accepted a series of legal series. Oh, thank you, Amber. It's really generous. Thank you very much. Oh, look, it pops up on the screen right underneath that. It's really cool. I didn't know it did that. How about that? Wow, look at that, Amber. You've got like I didn't know it popped up on the screen like that. Anyway, that will disappear in a second. I'll take that back. But thank you very much for your donation. It really does make a difference, and I really appreciate it. Yeah, and I just realised who you are. There's going to be a lot of co-conspirators that will be sweating at the moment. I won't tell your story, but I just realised who you are. So the name slips me, and I've seen it there. I'm sorry, but I must say good day to you guys. Awesome. Thank you for the donation. You don't need to do that. You've got yourself in a bind already, haven't you? But hopefully not for much longer. It's going to be anyway. One mistake people do is assuming that the obligation was pleading guilty. It is not. So he's now got a contract between the United States government in exchange for certain, is it concessions? Am I saying that right?
Concessions.
It is right. So he's got a series of legal obligations. I always wonder if these criminals actually respect the law. But anyway, let's say he's got some legal obligations that will remain in place long after the plea hearing finishes. So he's got 50 years to freely give information to the government. That's what I'm reading. Anyway, the most significant commitments include paying at least $250 million in restitution. So he's claiming he lives a life like a billionaire, right? So he's now, he's basically said that he will pay $250 million back in restitution. So if he somehow manages to inherit a whole lot of money, then he's got to stop giving these people metaverse. Thank you very much. People are listening to what I've said before. So thank you for the donations and the support. I really appreciate it. But basically, he needs to come up with $250 million in restitution for people he's stolen. So we know there's $400 million that has been stolen under the brand Goliath Ventures. How come he's only been charged $250 million in restitution? Forfeit luxury assets. Oh my God. I mean, this is, I was literally just about crying when I was reading it, and it might sound a bit wimpy-nimpy, but the guy's bought at least 18 Rolex watches, 12 exotic sports cars, 7 properties. He hasn't just sat there and tried to think, should I just keep the money in the bank and see if I can make something with it? He's spent the money. So he's forfeiting luxury assets. And the good thing about it, when we saw him on Channel 9 News, they liked showing him in the Louis Vuitton pool table. But I also saw a whole lot of boxes of all the stuff that these guys have bought. The fact that his girlfriend's luxury handbags have to go back or go to police auctions. Wouldn't mind going to a few. Could do have a few Louis Vuitton handbags. Anyway, forfeiting luxury assets that prosecutors allege were purchased with the proceedings of the fraud. Now, this is ridiculous, that the fact that where did Christopher have any income coming from? Where was Christopher's wealth before he started Goliath Ventures? It wasn't like he had a McDonald's or a friggin' donut brand or, a franchise or anything like that. He had no money coming in. So I don't know where he bought these assets from other than from stolen investors' money. I'm going to be all day if I don't carry on. Providing a complete financial disclosure of his assets and liability. So that's going to be breathtaking. Cooperating fully with government continuing the investigation. So he's their man. He's their, I don't know how to say this. I'm going to say it anyway. He's their bitch. He now has to answer every question or he goes to jail for 50 years. Providing truthful evidence whenever federal prosecutors require it. Now, we already know that Channel 9 has admitted that all their filming footage has to be handed over. It's been subpoenaed. So now they're going to basically cross-reference to make sure he's not lying. Great stuff. One figure immediately caught my attention. The plea agreement refers to at least $250 million, and that's what I'm just talking about, in restitution. Yet, prosecutors have alleged that Goliath Ventures accepted over $400 million, approximately from 2,000 investors. Now, on the news, they talk about 1,000 investors. We believe there's over 2,000 investors involved. Well, we were counting. We got access to the back end. We saw the numbers, and they seem to be numerically adding up as they got new investors. So we may have got Danny DeHeck investing, and we may have got Danny DeHeck Limited invested, so that would count for 2. But from our research, we believe over 2,000 people have invested. Now, other media outlets are saying 1,000. In the document, they claim approximately 2,000 investors. So that's a lot of people. Now, if the minimum investment was $100,000, do the maths on that. Now, we know that some people could invest $20,000, $30,000, and $50,000 at one point. And then we know they pulled their money together with other investors to get up to the $100,000 threshold. So even if we got a calculator out and said, what was the average investor on Goliath Ventures? We believe the average investor could be $200,000. Work it out. We know that some people have also, and I'm going to say this, that some people were made whole and then some. So some people invested earlier on, made a shit ton of money and pulled all their money out. Now, there are the people that Christopher has to hand over. So we call that clawbacks. So you may have thought, I was wise. I invested in Goliath Ventures before it fell over and I managed to get my money out. And I'll just wait for that knock on the door from the FBI saying, well, you were. So I wouldn't keep that money. I'd be looking for a way to give that money back as quick as possible because Christopher is now your worst enemy. He's like the worst of the worst if you're trying to hide any criminal connection. So if you were made whole and then some from your investing in Goliath Ventures and think you've got away with it, you've got nothing coming. All right, so 2,000 investors, that naturally raises other questions. Where is the remaining money? $150 million, where is it? I think I know where it is. And that's why I'm getting excited about 21 Ventures. That's where I'm getting excited about Jonathan Mason. That's where I'm getting excited about what do they call it? Wealth MD, Matt Burks, Pierce Curry, My Black Block, not to be mistaken as Black Rock. I mean, the plea agreement does not answer that question, but it does provide a clue. If Christopher Delgado fulfills his obligations to cooperate with prosecutors, many are able to identify additional assets, trace funds that have not yet been recovered, and where the evidence supports it, pursue other people who participated in the conspiracy. You didn't get away with it, Mike Shedlinski, forget his name right. For victims hoping to recover as much as possible, Tomo, that may ultimately prove far more important than pleading guilty itself. Tomo, on the way to, where did you stop over? On the way to, you stopped over somewhere unusual on the way. I don't know if Susie says that. He's currently in Dubai. Do you think Tomo is going to come home? Do you think Tomo is concerned that the money he's been pouring into inspired juvenation centres, that his mother's been doing the account, his brother's been recruiting people into Goliath Ventures? Do you think a business that doesn't turn over as much money that's come in or been fed into that company is going to be questioned? Do you think there's a reason why Tomo's rushed off to Dubai? Do you think there's a reason why Nick Petrillo has gone quiet on social media? It's just beginning, guys. I'm going to be an old man and I'm going to be up to my 500th video exposing co-conspirators if it's the last thing I ever do. Because these guys, this is a slam dunk. This is everybody that's on the game, in the game. This is like a rugby game or a game of gridiron, whatever it was you want to, and the whole team's been involved in playing this game. And they're claiming that, outrageous claims. And they've been playing this game, giving you the illusion. You've been in the grandstand watching this, watching all the lifestyle marketing. And the whole thing has just been an illusion of lies. And just because Christopher got caught holding the bull doesn't mean his team players aren't going to be held accountable. And that's what this document really shows. And it's just, you can't get any better than this. Oh, it's so exciting. Assets tell their own story. One section of the plea agreement reads less like legal documents and more like an inventory. I can't even say it, but I know the word I want to say. Inventory. Inventory. I'm going to get it.
Inventory.
Inventory. I didn't even say it right. But anyway, it's like inventory from an auction house. As I looked through the forfeiture schedule, it became increasingly clear that prosecutors were not just identifying property, they were telling the story of where they believed the investors' money ended up. Every house, every luxury vehicle, every high-value item listed in the agreement forms part of the story. Even Christopher's $1,000 sandals that were the female version, by the way, paint part of the story. Amongst the assets, now I can't even read all these names, I'll try my best, multiple Florida properties. I've been inside your offices that you purchased for $3.2 or $3.4 million that you claim you spent $5 million decking out. I went into your offices myself to check out the upgrades, and nothing was happening. You're full of lies. I did that. I went in there to your offices, Chris, and had a look around, looked through your blueprints that you had on the table in the middle of the room, and realized nothing was done. Also, stood outside your property because I was going to knock on your door, Christopher, but you weren't home. You were still in Dubai when I was there. Yes, I've been standing right in front of the house, your $8.5 million home in Windermere. I would have knocked on your door, but you weren't home because there's no cars parked in the driveway. You know, that yellow Lamborghini wasn't there. That black Escalade wasn't there. The Mercedes, that wasn't there. All in the garage. Excellent. But I went there. I knocked on your door. I was going to knock on your door. So you had Lamborghinis, Rolls Royces, and Bentley. Oh, I did get picked up by a Bentley when I was there by somebody. Anyway, that was nice. Nice cars, aren't they? Oh, you'll be missing those in prison. Luxury watches. Hey, what's the time, Mr. Wolf? 50 years. That's all you need now. You need a Mickey Mouse hand with 50 years on it. And you just need what you need is a plastic watch to wear in prison. One that's right 2 times a day. Okay, so you're not going to be wearing your Rolex, and I don't know, Enmars? I don't even know how to pronounce these names, but apparently I'm going to have a go with my, I'll read the next 2 things.
Audemars Piguet, Hermes Birkin handbags.
I don't even know what they are. The guy that took you down, Chris, doesn't even know what flash watches you own. Handbags. I don't even know. What's the name here?
Hermes Birkin handbags.
What the hell's a Hermes Birkin handbag, and why do you need one in your life? Why did you need to spend investors' money on a handbag for? Louis Vuitton luggage. Oh, did they mention the pool table? Jewelry. You've got cufflinks, I hear. The cryptocurrency holdings. It paints a picture that is a world away from an investment strategy many victims believe they were funding. So what have all these assets got to do with the company that was doing liquidity pool trading? The forfeiture schedule isn't there to impress the court. I don't think the judge was sitting there going through, "Oh, that's nice. Oh, you've got one of those. What color did you get? What type of Rolex did you have?" No, it wasn't there to impress the court. It was disgusting. It's there to recover as much value as possible. All allegations, is that right?
Allegation.
Oh, one allegation in particular stood out. According to the charging document, an investor wired $500,000 into Goliath Ventures account on the 3rd of September. We know who that is. Within days, prosecutors alleged criminally derived funds were used to purchase an 8.5 Windermere property. Now, we know how that worked. It's really exciting. Now, he was about to move into that property and he couldn't find the last $2 million. And he was holding a party that night. Now, would you believe that night when he managed to find $2 million, so he used probably part of the $500,000 to top up the $2 million that he was short because the previous property owner wouldn't give him access before he moved in. And that night when he did move in, they were playing my videos on the big screen outside in the courtyard. And I had people that were in his house telephoning me, telling me what he was doing. So I was his enemy. I was exposing this guy and he was flaunting it and laughing it off. But we got there at the end, didn't we, Chris? Because I know you'll be watching this now. So you thought, we knew you had to find money. We knew that you had to find $2 million so you could have your party and keep face. And then looks like we've trailed where you got that money from. Isn't that just batshit crazy? Anyway, Susie's got lots of comments. It's good. We're really proud of what we... Remember, we're open source intelligent investigators, which basically means we follow the money. We follow anything online. We, to uncover as much as we did is absolutely breathtaking. Anyway, what else we've got? Whether I never get that word right.
Allegation.
Whether every allegation is ultimately accepted by the court is a matter for the legal process, but examples like that help explain why prosecutors have targeted specific assets rather than simply seeking financial judgment. Yeah, so they're going after the assets, that they're following the money, who paid for what, where that money come from, which is fantastic. For victims, these luxury assets represent more than symbols of wealth. They represent the best opportunity of recovering at least some of what is lost. I mean, Leslie didn't squander it all at the casino. What we might have done, that is why the forfeiture process is likely to become just as important as the sentencing itself in months ahead. Right, so here we go, some really interesting stuff. Now, this is another exciting part, especially for people like Susie, who's been doing a deep dive into crypto wallet addresses. And also with our intel, backed up by their intel, there's still some investigation going on. Now, just to say what we do, you don't realize who we're connected to and who we've got. We're on CoffeeZilla. I was associated with CoffeeZilla as a guy who goes by the name Zeke XBT. Now, we were investigating another scam called BG Wealth Sharing. He credited myself and Oz from Behind MLM for our early reporting. He was searching for crypto wallet addresses for the scam that was busting called BG Wealth Sharing. And he watched $91 million being laundered on Coinbase and OKX. And he managed to freeze $41,500,000 worth of that money, all because we had displayed crypto wallet addresses of the scam on the screen. And he went through and did a deep dive, and he managed to freeze money. So don't underestimate the power of a crypto wallet
New donation
address.
from Carmen.
Oh, thank you very much, Carmen. Really appreciate that. So what we're getting into now is in the charges, I think it was the charges, they mention a crypto wallet address. That's an opportunity for people like Zach XBT to go and explore and do their own investigation to see if they can follow the money trail. This part is really important as well, because you may have received money from any of the co-conspirators in New Zealand. Sorry, not New Zealand. I just received a New Zealand phone call. That's my brain. But what I'm saying, if you've received money from any of the co-conspirators in the way of crypto ever, and you can help us with those crypto addresses, we can do a better job with our investigation. Because remember, that's not over. And remember, now we're going to go through all the co-conspirators. So I'm going to show you all those co-conspirators, and you may have received payment for something silly. Think about it. You can help us with this investigation. However, there is an address in here which they gave a part address. We've got the full address where you can explore it yourself and monitor. So if you're good at tracing crypto, we're going to call you bluff. We're going to say, find us some smoking guns, report it back to us. We'll share intel with you. Let's keep this investigation going. Let's follow the money, because there's a lot of assets that are being held in NFTs, crypto and the like. And the fact that they put this in the plea is amazing. So the cryptocurrency trail doesn't end here. No, bugger. Okay. My mum's on the road. Sorry, sorry guys, personal stuff going on. Yeah. Sorry about that, guys. Okay, so the cryptocurrency trail doesn't end here. One part of the plea agreement is that many people will probably skim over the section dealing with the cryptocurrency stuff because it's bamboozly, isn't it? Isn't it strange how many people actually won't bother? And it's an oxymoron in a way, really, because you just invested in a company doing liquidity pool trading. Potentially you didn't really understand all about it. And now when we get to the good stuff, your mind goes glazing over. That's quite normal, because I don't understand this stuff, and I've got some clever people in my Avengers who do understand this stuff. I think what would be a mistake while most of the attention is understandably focused on a luxury home, I've just got a luxury home, supercars, designer goods instead of the listed in the forfeiture. Federal prosecutors also identified cryptocurrencies that Christopher agrees to surrender, including approximately, I don't even know how much this is. Somebody might want to work this out for me. What's the dollar value of 2.12 ETH? More than 77 million at these tokens, which I think are actually worth nothing. I have to reply to somebody. Sorry, I'm just live on the internet, so I won't be able to make it. But absolutely thank you for thinking of me, and make sure you give my mum a big hug. Okay. So I don't know what that value is, and approximately, which doesn't sound much, I know, and that's why people probably glaze over this, 8,709 USDC. That immediately tells us investigators they're not simply following the traditional financial records. So they're not just going through the bank records and the like, they're actually going and looking at everything. So that's great. They were also tracing digital assets, something that has been increasingly important in complex cryptocurrency fraud investigations. So the saving grace in some ways is the fact that the majority, which is unusual about Christopher Delgado's case, is that majority of money did actually come in through real banks. He had 30 bank accounts, and as far as we're concerned, I think there was 4 bank accounts that we know of. Now we'll find out if there's more. So we've got, oh my God, it's nothing. The total of 1.2 ETH is approximately $3,100. Well, that's not going to pay much, is it? It might give me a flight to America, though. Interestingly, the plea agreement only published a tourniqueted wallet address, and this is where we need your help. Since then, the full wallet address has been identified. We already had it. Providing investigators, are you an investigator? Are you a victim? Does this wallet address have something to do with where you sent your money? And blockchain researchers, and I talked about Zeke XPT, who's already helped save $41,500,000 from getting into the wrong hands. So we've got real serious blockchain investigators. We've got Crypto G and we've got Susie, who are just incredible. And we use open source intelligent research tools. If we had access to the government tools where the licenses can cost up to $5,000 or $10,000 a month, we would be able to do a lot more with the intel that we get in a lot quicker. But we're working as cheaply as we can. So we've spent many years investigating cryptocurrency schemes. I've spent so many years investigating cryptocurrency schemes is because, I don't know, one of the reasons, that's better. One of the reasons I've spent many years investigating cryptocurrency schemes is because blockchains are transparent by design, unlike private bank records. So we can actually see things. Every transaction is permanently recorded on a public ledger. That means anyone can review the movement of funds, identify interacting wallets, and sometimes uncover connections that investigators may already be following or haven't yet been made public. So they gave that website address that you're looking at there. Let me read it to you. No, I won't do that. To people, I think, so people can explore and potentially help you do your own investigation. Would that be a fair statement? I think it is. If you are experienced in blockchain analysts, you may wish to monitor this wallet across multiple networks. Now, it's pretty amazing. I'm going to just open that up. I'm going to open that up, and I'm going to open that up. So now we're looking at Polyscan, and we can see transactions. We can go to, and I absolutely have no idea what I'm doing here, but you can see transactions in and out of those wallet addresses. So you might want to figure out what they are, but let's just say they've dropped a breadcrumb down on us. And then you can go through on different Etherscan. You can go to transactions here, and you can monitor, where and when the last transactions are done. Now, I'm not going to claim I know anything about any of that stuff. In fact, I find it quite annoying. I'll be honest. But we have given those addresses for a reason. We've also given you 3 different places you can monitor it. So I'm going to read this paragraph because it's getting a bit tongue twisty for me.
The medieval empires tokens are held on the Polygon network. If additional transactions, linked wallets or relevant on-chain activity are identified, they should always be assessed carefully and alongside the court documents. Blockchain data is an incredibly powerful investigative tool, but like every other piece of evidence, it needs to be supported by facts rather than speculation.
Yeah, ChatGPT makes me say that sort of stuff. That's why I read that one. But look, I'll tell you something else, look, guys. If I was a criminal and I was trying to get away with hiding money, I'd hide it on the blockchain. So if you want to help recover your funds, if you've got any addresses to any of the co-conspirators, let us know. These guys will be squirreling money away. Christopher might have put $50 million somewhere. We can't find it at the moment. But one of you guys may be linked to a wallet address. And if other co-conspirators think they're cleverer than the average bear. Now, if I was a criminal, this is how I would think. I'm going to plead the fifth. Is that right? I don't know what that means. I just like saying it. But what I would do is I'd keep my mouth shut, make it really hard for investigators to prosecute me. And if they did find something, like for Bitcoin Rodney, he was part of a $1.9 billion scam. We were working with the IRS. We had a Microsoft Teams meeting. They wanted evidence to prove that he was promoting a scam I was investigating called Hyperverse. They even offered to pay me money if they used my video. How about that? It wasn't my video. Susie gave it to me. Or the other events. I can't remember what it was. Anyway, long story short, they had three things they were going to do him for. One was drug trafficking, which I didn't know he did. And then there was another one, I think it was money laundering. And then the third one was promoting crypto investment opportunities, the one that I had evidence of. They did him for drug trafficking because it was just low-hanging fruit, and they got him in jail. So what I'm sort of getting at here is it's hard for these prosecutors to go after these guys. A lot of these guys, if they do pin anything on them, it may be for something else not connected. They may get, looks like Bitcoin Rodney, he's pleaded guilty as well, and he could get 6 years. He's already served 3, and he could be out in 4. I don't know. But what I'm getting at, most of these guys know that it's going to be hard for them to be nailed. And in the meantime, they might go to jail for 5 or 8 years, and they stash money on the blockchain, and they put their key phrases somewhere clever. But everything is transparent. It's transparent on the blockchain. They only need to get sloppy once, and my team of Avengers will find where that money is. If that's the case, then they'll have to come up with some plea agreement, and they might have to hand that money, well, they will have to hand that money over or spend a long time in prison. That's where we want many hands make light work. So if you guys have any crypto wallet addresses that are connected to any of the co-conspirators, please, thank you, Big Rig. You're very supportive. Really appreciate that. You're always donating, so I really appreciate that. It's really nice. I'll put your name up on the screen there. Big Rig's a good guy. Thank you very much. He's Canadian. All good. Canadians are the nicest people. I went from America into Canada. No offense to all my American audience, by the way. And I went to America, to Canada. I went over the border, went to Niagara for the day. And I get to Canada and they go, "Oh, hello, how are you, New Zealander?" I said, "Oh, I know, nice." And I was talking to the lady there, and we went in there, looked at the Niagara Falls for a day, and then I went back to America. I got back on the train, went back into America, across the border, and I got grilled. "Why are you here?" I was watching other people getting grilled as I was going into America, but I always thought to myself, Canadians are lovely. Okay, I'll carry on now. All right. Anyway, so what I'm getting at here, guys, don't underestimate the power of a wallet address that you may have connected to any of the co-conspirators or anyone that was promoting Goliath Ventures. It does not mean if you give us that wallet address, you're going to be implicated in something bad. It just helps us track these people's movements, and we may be able to find money and recover more money for the victims. Anyway, that's my lecture on that. Hopefully I've done a good job of that. I've got to keep the lights on. We do. Thank you very much. I might just have to take a quick phone call. I won't be a second, all right? I won't be a second. I'll put some music on for you. I'll see if I can find it. Sorry, guys. All right, I'm back. Now, don't have to explain that, but basically, I thought that was a personal phone call, but I do drop shipping and somebody was trying to find a heater. and they thought I had it in stock. And I thought, I don't have it in stock. And anyway, it was the wrong phone call. I thought it was important. So I took it. Where are we? Where we're at here. So I was going to play a song, but we don't need to play that now. I'm back. I'm back to normal. So why is so many legal cases are running at the same time? Now, it was a really good question. I've never ever seen a feeding frenzy like it. The first civil lawsuit that we saw was Nick Petrillo trying to sue Christopher for over $40 million of unpaid rewards for recruiting people into Goliath Ventures. And that was the dumbest thing we'd ever seen anyone do. It was only when the federal case was launched, and then 2 days after that, we had a federal charges of Christopher. But anyway, what we saw every day, we saw all these lawsuits coming in, and it was actually quite amazing. Oh, Glitter Toast, nice to see you here, mate. Nice to see you here. Nice to see you. Nice. So anyway, yeah, so what I'm getting at here, guys, what I'm trying to say is why people are asking why so many cases running at the same time. And I think it would be only fair if we just drop into our last blog. Susie jumped on stage last time, but if you come down to my blogs, you'll see that we're currently doing this one where Christopher's in handcuffs, and then we had no scams, and this one here, I think it was. So we've got Mike. I'm not going to try saying his name, but here's the guy that's ran away. He's a co-conspirator, and he's now ran away to Dubai. He's too scared to come back. But if you come down to the very bottom of this blog, you will see more crypto wallet addresses where we're asking you guys to help us. And you can come down to the form where you can actually come along here and you can actually give them the wrong link. I think we want to find this link is the one that we're after. And we did a bit of if you go back and watch the video attached to that blog, you can see all the latest cases and the dockets for the whole case, which is really, really interesting. And that's where, what am I trying to say here? I'm trying to say the latest and the greatest information is submitted here. But what we're finding is the main case, even though a lot of people are confused, all right, I'm just going to break it down really quick. The lead case is this one. And I'm sure we're going to explain this in the next paragraph. The second case is the Wyoming company they set up. So some people are filing two cases, one for Wyoming and one for Florida, because on the 3rd of September, they shut down the Florida company, moved it to Wyoming. So now people are confused where to go. We saw a whole array of court cases coming in. Some people were suing Florida, some people were suing Wyoming, and some people were suing both, and it got confusing. So there is a way of keeping up with it. Now it's Goliath Ventures BK, bankrupt, BK. GoliathVenturesBK.com. I never remember it, but you can go there and you can find all the latest and greatest information. We have broken it down in this last paragraph, a message to the victims. If you've invested with Goliath Ventures, you possessed emails, chat conversations, exported, this is where you go and find that blog. And if you are in the chat room right now, I will post that link. But don't underestimate the power of reaching out to me via my contact page on the website. We're here to help you. We can point you to the blog to read about whatever you need to do, but don't do nothing. Why so many legal cases are running at the same time? One question that I've been asked repeatedly is why there seems to be so many different court cases connected to Goliath Ventures. It's a fair question because at first glance, it can look like everyone is doing the same job. In reality, each legal proceeding has a completely different purpose, and understanding the distinction helps explain why justice in cases like this often takes years rather than months. And that's Also a reason why they consolidate a lot of these court cases and they have a lead case so they're not repeating themselves. Christopher Delgado's guilty plea is part of the federal criminal case, which is primary concerned with determining criminal responsibility and imposing a appropriate sentence. Running alongside that is civil forfeiture cases, where the government is seeking ownership of assets it believes purchased with proceeds of fraud. At the same time, the Chapter 11 bankrupt and the work of the receivers are focused on identifying, preserving, and ultimately distributing assets for the benefit of creditors and victims, separate from all of what that are various civil proceedings, including class actions brought by investors seeking compensation to their losses. So, so you've got, it can be confusing, but you need to make sure you have a proof of claim in, which I think you've got to the 30th of September to do that. It may be extended, but don't rely on it. Get into this, man. Get into as much money as you can. And remember, there's $400 million being spent, unless it's been spent on Kool-Aid, alcohol, cream cakes, a lot of assets can be recovered. And that's why we really want to work hard. This would be amazing to actually blow this as a Ponzi scheme, get the man indicted, get the man arrested, get him to plead guilty, get him to confess to everyone that's associated with Goliath Ventures, and actually get some of this money back that's been distributed into assets. But we need your help. We need to work together. And don't be embarrassed. We're past embarrassment. I mean, do you think a 56-year-old man wants to be in front of a computer talking to himself in his bedroom, telling you guys what to do with your money? I mean, I'd rather be on the beach having a martini or something. I don't know, like James Bond. But let's do it. Let's get into this. It will help you. We'll help you. Let's do this. I mean, I just went to the New Zealand High Court on Tuesday, I think it was, as I said at the beginning, and I represented myself, protecting myself, fighting against these scammers. It's awesome, man. I didn't think I'd ever be able to represent myself. I mean, the first time I got myself in a court hearing, I spent $33,600 defending myself. It was the best legal advice I've ever got, I must admit. But I didn't feel like paying $33,600 towards my legal fees. So, use the people around you. Use the Avengers. We do need to sleep at night. I literally went to bed last night, and I shit you not, I was still awake at 4 o'clock in the morning. I think it was actually 5 o'clock. And I've had 3 hours sleep. I know that's terrible. And people go, you need to get more sleep. You need to look after yourself. I get it. But I went to bed the night before, and I remember looking at the clock, and it was 3:33. And I thought, oh my God, last night I got to bed, laid down, and it was 3:15 in the morning. And I thought, oh my goodness, at least it's not 3:33. That's what I was thinking. And then when it got to 3:33, I couldn't sleep. So I finished up watching YouTube videos instead. And for some reason they put me to sleep. But anyway, what I'm getting at, guys, we are here to help. But don't sit here on your hands. It's time to get past the embarrassment. You've had the stages of grief to go through. Acceptance is one of them. Anger is another one. But acceptance is the one where you actually think, right, let's get into this. I made a mistake. So what? I shouldn't have done it. So what? Other people's done it as well. Good. I'm not the only idiot. Let's get into it. Let's get some of this money back for you if we can. I don't like doing recovery, but this isn't crypto recovery. This is actually asset recovery, because these cases all have different objectives. They don't necessarily move together. A delay, one court doesn't seem, I might have reread this, but let's read it again. A delay in one court doesn't mean the other has stopped. In fact, it's quite common for information uncovered in one proceeding to assist another. So all these cases, that one crypto address that you may have may lead to a private crypto wallet where somebody stashed some money. Documents produced in a bankrupt can become relevant in a criminal case. Assets identified during a civil forfeiture proceeding may ultimately benefit victims through the receivership. Witnesses who cooperate with federal prosecutors may also become important in civil litigation. That's why I continue telling victims to follow every part of this investigation rather than focusing on a single courtroom. The guilty plea is undoubtedly one of the biggest developments that we've seen so far, but it's only one piece of a much larger legal process that is still unfolding. understanding how these different pieces fit together makes it much easier to see where the investigations are heading next. And it's quite exciting for us. We've been busting. We're disruptors. Normally around about this time, I'm storming into a Zoom meeting, trying to shut it down. In fact, I got an email this morning, reading. I'm going to read it because it's actually quite neat. I want to see if I can find it first. But this is what I wake up to. I don't know if I can. Who did I send that to? I think I sent it to our Avengers. But I'm just going to have a wee look here. So this is a message that I received from an investor in a company. And it's a scam that we've been busting. The people have been trying to stop us from exposing their company. And we go into Zoom meetings and we shut them down. And these companies don't like being exposed. So I went through and I exposed this guy's, I'll say it, I exposed their family via their own Facebook page. So anything they had on their public Facebook page, I put it up on the screen and broadcast it. The guy complained to YouTube. They actually got the video. I went over the line. He got the video removed, not because I broke the law, but because I've exposed his child that he had on a public Facebook page. And you could argue that Facebook's not public because you have to log in first. So that's why YouTube removed the video. That's great. But then all the other videos, he's now tried to remove them because they don't like being exposed. So we name and shame individuals that are running or promoting Ponzi schemes and scams. And we also cause disruption. So even though people go, oh, haven't you got better things to do with your time? We go, well, no, we haven't actually. This is the message I love hearing from the companies that we are going after. So this was sent to their community.
Dear UGC community, we want to inform everyone that tonight's Zoom call at 7 p.m. Eastern and tomorrow's Zoom call at 1 p.m. Eastern have been cancelled. This decision was not made lightly. Unfortunately, we have experienced individuals attempting to disrupt our sessions, and our priority is to protect both the company and the members who dedicate their time to attend these presentations. Over the next few days, we will be evaluating additional security measures and alternative formats that will allow us to continue delivering valuable information while maintaining a safe and professional environment. We are also exploring new ways to help members effectively share and promote the business, should they choose to do so. Please know that this temporary interruption only affects these Zoom sessions. All other aspects of UGC continue to operate normally. We appreciate your understanding, patience, and continued support as we work to improve the experience for everyone. Thank you for being part of the UGC community.
So when we get emails like that, we know that we're doing our job. People come after us with hammer and tong, so to speak. We love it. We thrive on it. And we're here to cause disruption. Now, it would be fair to say we caused a lot of disruption when it comes to Goliath Ventures, but we didn't do a good enough job. We should have gone harder. We should have gone faster. We should have used our networks quicker. We've got, I can talk to, I'm fingertips away from talking to any of the major scam fighters in the world. We are already in the networks with everybody. I've got government network. I'm used to own a business networking company. I'm well networked. I have got resources now, which I never, ever dreamed of. Every time we do an investigation like this, we reach out to better people, stronger people. We can act swifter next time. Next time there's a Goliath Ventures starting up somewhere, we'll be there faster. We'll take the risk. We're not going to wait for Channel 9 News to read out the court documents and say they broke the story. We make the story. That when they're reading out documents talking about co-conspirators, we know that we've had an influence because we, the Avengers, started using co-conspirators. We put these co-conspirators in the heads of the investigators. I'm not saying they don't just go after one person all the time, but some of the terminology and the phrases that we have used are coming out in the court documents. And they'll be read on Channel 9 News. Thanks, Darlene Jones, you're awesome. And they'll claim the victory. And I'm not here to claim the victory. I'm just saying that we played a major part in this investigation. And also other YouTubers like CoffeeZilla published a video that's got 4.1 million views about our investigation. He took a risk. People like us take risks. I'm not protected by a TV channel and their legal team. I'm not protected by anything. These guys knocked on my door. They staked out my neighborhood. They intimidated me, and they offered me a plea deal so I would remove my investigation. These co-conspirators that we're about to look at, they have been in rooms talking about knocking me off. And we have people who have said they were talking about coming up with ways to get rid of me. You know, whether that we've got photos of videos of Tomo telling people, I don't know who I'm dealing with. We've got those videos. I mean, the guy's meant to be selling, supplements. And all of a sudden he's threatening me while he's doing his press up saying, you don't know who you're dealing with. What am I dealing with? A chemist? A pharmacist? I don't know what you're doing. But there's the dumb thing. So these co-conspirators are not passive investors or just, they are actively involved in Goliath Ventures. Now I'm raving on a bit, but let's get into it. Why the word co-conspirators matters. One word appears repeatedly through the information in the plea agreement, co-conspirators. So I say it again, co-conspirators. That isn't an accident. And I don't believe it's simply legal wording. To me, it's an unnatural word to see in federal documents. Federal prosecutors choose their language carefully, particularly in complex financial crime cases. Every time I saw that word, it reinforced the impression that investigators were looking well beyond Christopher Delgado itself. It's important not to jump to conclusions, ChatGPT. The plea agreement does not accuse every promoter, employer, or investor for committing a crime. So if you're a passive investor, you're not a co-conspirator. If you referred it to your friend, you're not a co-conspirator. If you stood on the stage with Christopher at Patrick Ben David, you are a co-conspirator. So, people that were at the show, we've done videos in the past, we've gone over this in the past, but if you were there side by side, shoulder to shoulder, in those airplanes with Christopher endorsing bad behavior, you are a co-conspirator, not a simple investor who may have referred a friend into it. No one cares about that. You were sold a dream, something that was too good to be true, but you bought it as true. That's fine. Everyone is entitled to do due process, and every case must be assessed on its own evidence. But what the agreement does confirm is that Christopher Delgado has accepted an ongoing obligation to assist investigators as they examine the wider conspiracy. That means prosecutors now have something they didn't have before. Thank you, Christopher Delgado. Never thought I'd say that. Not just bank records, not just emails, not just blockchain transactions. They now have the cooperation of the man who admitted organizing and leading the scheme. Who is he leading? Co-conspirators. Whether that cooperation ultimately results in additional prosecutions, is that right? Additional prosecutions?
Prosecutions.
I got it. Remains to be unseen. But I think it's one of the biggest reasons victims should continue following this case. This has just begun. That investigation hasn't narrowed because Christopher Delgado pleaded guilty. It has broadened. Need to say that again. It has broadened. The coming months are likely to reveal whether federal prosecutors believe the evidence supports action against anyone else connected to Goliath Ventures. Until then, it's important to separate evidence from speculation and allow the investigation to follow the facts wherever they lead. Now, I know that you guys in the federal offices, in the CFTC, the IRS, Homeland Security. Hi, John. Watch my videos. And I know that you've seen this image more than once. And no news company would ever put this image on the screen because they're too scared of lawsuits. Well, I'm not scared of lawsuits. You can sue the hell out of me. I have no money. So you can't come after me for money. And what are you going to do? You're going to say that I wasn't connected to Goliath Ventures? I'm not a co-conspirator. I wasn't on that airplane. I wasn't smoking cigars with Christopher. I don't drive a Lamborghini. I don't drive a Rolls Royce. That's a friend of mine's. I didn't get Chris to be a co-signer on my house, my property. I mean, how are you going to get on, Alex, now that Chris is you've got Chris as what do they call somebody who co-signed your loan agreement for your house? I mean, did you take your Lamborghini around to Nick Petrillo's house? Does Nick Petrillo, Steve Davis, have you really been at the car show lately? Were you showing off your McLaren? Your McLaren? Your McLaren? Where did a fireman afford to make money to buy a McLaren? Because Steve Davis, who's been on our show before, criticized me, told me I didn't know what I was talking about. And he's driving around in a McLaren, going to car shows like he's the man about town. He's even doing a criminal case against people who said they don't want to work with him anymore, claiming torturous interference. He spent $50,000 of Goliath Ventures money to set up a company called press-choice.com. And the young couple that he promised would be a big part of that company, who were doing all the work, and now he's decided to go after them because they were exposing him for the criminal he was, and he's decided to do a lawsuit against them, claiming $150,000 worth of torturous interference. And the couple's a young couple. It's disgusting. But this is what these guys have done. They have used Goliath Ventures money to try and set up their own companies and then distance themselves from Goliath Ventures, thinking that nobody is going to notice. Tomo, he is number one. He's a smartass. He has threatened me with grievous bodily harm. He has not been paying his staff's 401k for 4 years. He has put more money into his business than the business is making. Where has that money come from? And you've also been putting your sports car up for show so people can view your lovely sports car. He already has lost a court case for, I think it was just over about $230,000, where he had to pay the company. Before he started his company, he basically was going to buy a franchise. He found out all about the franchise and then started up his own company. So that company, basically, he stole their IP, 5-year court case battle, and he lost and had to pay $230,000. That was only a couple of months ago. So this guy is meant to be broke. We've heard that he's now telling people that he's got no money left. He just flew first class to Dubai. Where did he get his money from? Punic Shaw. 7% Club is what he's known for. 7% Club, where he was paying investors 7% returns per month for their investment. Recruited 500 people. He didn't just go to random people. He went to his people in his own community. And basically, communities in Maryland are suffering because that guy, who should be stuck to his real estate game, Mike Shimlinsky, in Dubai at the moment, walking up to a beautiful woman pretending he's a poor man and then driving away in a flash sports car, video on his TikTok account, like those silly TikTok, look at me, I'm a rich guy and you didn't like me because you thought I was poor videos. Living in Dubai, was paying $16,000 a month rental for a house in Florida, trying to get out of the lease before he runs off to Dubai, now being subpoenaed to talk in the courtroom. We have tracked $35 million from his spreadsheets that he's been investing through Goliath Ventures. I mean, some people, we've spoken to some of these people in length on the phone. Eric Clayman, now, you might know him as a defense lawyer. Well, he wrote the contracts that people sent. His office address was the same as Goliath Ventures' office address. 4 doors down was the lawyers that were trying to come. He lives in he works out of an apartment in the same building. 4 apartments down, there was another law firm that come after me, Oliver, come after me. I mean, all these people have a story. I mean, James Delgado, Christopher's brother, family man, Hunter Smallback, all these people have Jonathan Mason. He was the guy that Patrick Bet David would have got. He would have asked Jonathan, who's this Christopher guy? He wants to pay us $1 million to be the name sponsor at our Vault 2025 event. Jonathan says, oh yeah, I've known Chris for a long time. And Jonathan knows Patrick Bet David. Well, we've got videos. And then we've got people that are associated to Jonathan who have just sent Dear John letters out to their clients who were running what seems like another Ponzi scheme, and they've fallen over. And then we see the same people that are claiming that their investment portfolio has fallen over, claiming they're not connected to Goliath Ventures. Next minute, we see videos with Patrick Bet David, Jonathan Mason, and the real estate investor all working in the same company, doing insurance sales. And then you start to see similarities that all these guys are all part of a criminal cartel network, all doing the same thing. And because no one's stopping them, they just carry it on. What about Nadia Brinkus, the bookkeeper, who also moved her company on the 3rd of September from Florida and re-registered it in Wyoming, stopped it on the 2nd of September, lit up her company in Wyoming. These are people that have committed, they've facilitated the fraud. Jay Newton is a guy I don't mention much. When we started investigating him, he used to be in our chat room, blowing it up, telling us that we didn't know what we're talking about. You naysayers, you idiots, all sorts of things. Until we found out where his daughter goes to university and we put her photo up on the internet, then he stopped. He stopped harassing us. $120 million, we believe he brought in at the time when we were investigating him. We've got Matt Burks, Piers Curry, Marty, Vince, Stephanie, Michael, David, Alex. I can't even say it. These are the co-conspirators. And just to drive the point home, let's listen to their names so you can get them all.
Chris Delgado, Nick Petrillo, Tomo Mijanovic, David Panzik, Steve Davis, Alex Bucallo, James Delgado, Hunter Smallback, Mariusz Chmielewski, Stephanie Hernandez, Michael Hernandez, Mike Chmielewski, Punit Shah, Matt Burks, Piers Curry, Jay Newton, Jonathan Mason, Dante Spitaleri, Vince Gratter, Marty Berthelmer, Casey Holliday, Eric Clayman, Matthew Malrims, Nadia Bringus, Eric Reidman, Douglas Sherman and Gary Rice.
Now, we may not be able to get all these guys behind bars, but even if we got at least 5 of them behind bars, it's going to be pretty exciting, isn't it? And if they have hid money in crypto wallets, that money can stay locked up as well. But do you want these people to defraud mum and dad investors? Do you want people to have lost their property, their 401ks? These guys went after people's 401ks. They went after retirement money. They went after communities. They got involved in all the charities. We believe that they were getting involved with Andrew Tate and his crew of merry men so they could get to the big investors. They didn't want to stop. They were smoking cigars with Christopher. They were celebrating with Christopher. They all went to a $9 million Christmas party to celebrate Goliath Ventures when they knew that all the money was frozen. They knew that they couldn't pay their investors, but they continued raving and waving that flag. Disgust me. Anyway, see what Susie says here. She's really good on this one. Check out Are they net winners or are they filing claims, yes or no? That is such a good point, and I missed that totally. Who's to say any of these guys have lost money? So let's use an example. Let's pick Jonathan Mason. He claims he's lost $9 million to investing in Goliath Ventures. Nick Petrillo claiming that he has he was doing a lawsuit. I've forgotten how much it was, but it was $40 million of unpaid rewards from Christopher. So Christopher and Nick Petrillo basically started up this business. They were originally calling it a water-cooled mining outfit. They were hoping that they were going to buy these containers for $250,000 and split it up into 10 different investment groups for people, yada, yada, yada. And long story short, he lives in an $8.5 million house. We know that he does have a $5 million mortgage. We know that he has a mistress. And we also know that he's been married for many years, just had his third child, and he's had a mistress for years, which is absolutely crazy. So long story short, these guys have got the money. Are they actually, what do we call it? Net winners? Are these the guys that are up on the ante, or have they lost money? There's more money on the table right here in this picture than isn't. They may claim they are victims, but we need them investigated. We need their crypto wallets. We need to watch the money trail. These guys, if they've got any money left, will be all hidden in crypto. My words, you will make it. Can victims actually get their money back? This is the question I've been asked more than any other, other than when Goliath had collapsed. Everyone wants to know, can I get my money back? Can we make all this go away? Can we just get my money back? Even if it's just the principal, people say. And I go, no, not that I know of. I don't know of any way of getting the money back because the money gets used to pay it's what a Ponzi scheme is. New money pays old money. Old money spends it quick because they know it's a Ponzi scheme because they often isn't their first rodeo. Unfortunately, a guilty plea does not automatically mean victims will get their money back. The criminal case is only part of a much larger legal process. Running alongside it are civil forfeiture proceedings, the Bankrupt 11 bankruptcy, the work of the court-appointed receiver, and ongoing civil litigation. Each process has a different purpose, which is why they don't always move at the same speed. So, to put it simply, which is great, we've learned so much doing this case, and hopefully that you guys value what we're trying to educate you with. Because I've learned a lot. I don't do this every day, this part of my investigation. Normally I cause disruption. We don't sit here and we work with people that have a case who can potentially get some of their money back. The criminal case is about holding Christopher accountable. All right, we've got that. He's admitted guilt. The forfeiture proceedings are about recovering the assets government believes they purchased with fraud proceeds. So Christopher's bought all his assets with fraud money, it all gets back. All the donations they did to the charities that do the good in the community, unfortunately, that can be clawed back. The receiver is working to identify, perceived, and ultimately distribute assets to victims. So that's what the receiver does. They want you to be made whole. That's what they want. The bankrupt proceedings deal with the company remaining assets and creditor claims. So some people, that's one where we find some people slow up the process. So we've noticed that some people have been putting in 2 court cases, one for the state of Florida, another one for the state of Wyoming. And unfortunately, that slows the process up a little bit. So having good legal advice can help, knowing that if you put $100,000 into a scheme and you may have seen $180,000 on your balance, doesn't mean you're going to get $80,000 paid out to you because you had a contract saying so. Because there's no money there. You're only potentially going to get your $100,000 back if that money wasn't used on lifestyle marketing. That's how it works. And obviously, if you put 2 claims in, doesn't mean you're up for getting $200,000 back. It doesn't work that way. So you need to get some good advice on actually what you can claim. This also helps explain one of the biggest questions raised by the plea agreement. Christopher Delgado has agreed to pay at least $250 million in restitution. Yet investors believe the scheme accepted more than $400 million from investors. That doesn't necessarily mean victims have lost their chance to recover the difference. It means the investigation into additional assets and potential co-conspirators is still continuing. And that's why I'm so pleased about the co-conspirators, because Christopher, if he never ever gets more than $250 million to his name, he's never going to get out of debt. Now imagine all the co-conspirators now are going to be claimed as co-conspirators and have committed fraud, and potentially if they all do the right thing and admit guilt, then they're going to be using all their assets. So Nick Petrillo, he's got an $8.5 million house. We know he's got a $5 million mortgage. He's got $3.5 million worth of assets. They're not going to let him stay in his house. Well, maybe not. They're going to take that, make him sell that house, and $3.5 million is going to go back to the victims. And that's why we need to go through all these. But imagine 27 people that have all benefited from associating with Goliath Ventures are all going to be forced to sell all their assets, everything they have, to pay back you if those assets were purchased with the fraud money. They're going to follow the money. And that's one of the reasons Delgado's cooperation may prove so important. For victims, patience is going to be essential. And I hate it. I used to have horses, and my wife at the time used to do show jumping, and I used to call it hurry up and wait. But you spend all your day panicking about getting your horse ready, putting the keepers on the feet and brushing the horse and making sure you've got the right saddle on the right way and all this sort of stuff. And then you'd wait, hurry, wait. And then the horse would stop on the first jump, or she'd fall off, and I'd have to hear about it for the next 3 weeks. Long story short, it was a game of patience. I've just got a personal thing going down at the moment, and I've had to wait 5 years of patience before I've got a great outcome. But I gave them enough rope to hang themselves, so to speak, which is quite exciting when you've got that much patience. So patience is a beautiful thing. So patience is going to be essential. Asset recovery in cases like this really happens quickly. Properties need to be sold. Ownership disputes need to be resolved, and that's where Chris is going to come in and helpful. He's going to go through Chris, your mum and dad's property. Where do they get the money from? Where do they get their Escalade from? Literally, we know that he's purchased cars. His ex-wife, has been receiving $20,000 a month. We know that she just took a first-class cruise somewhere. His kids, their schools, all the money that he's been spending on. I know there's a school that the kids have been going to that have been receiving large donations. All that money, he'll be asked, he'll have to tell. If he doesn't tell, he's going to get 50 years in prison. So there's going to be a lot of money that people, unfortunately, clawbacks. We did a really amazing article on clawbacks, which really underlines it. Anyway, cryptocurrency traced and competing legal claims determined before distribution can begin. It's a process measured in months, and quite often it's a processed. I'm just a bit there, so I'm going to have a go.
It's a process measured in months and, quite often, years rather than weeks.
Yeah, so it's going to be years before things happen. So don't let this consume you. If you've lost your money, do not hang out for recovery. Get stuck back into life. Get a part-time job if you have. Do some good old-fashioned business. Don't let this loss of money consume you. It's just money. Build relationships, have good friends, go out and dinner and have a nice dinner. I went out with dinner with some of my Avengers, and it was beautiful to actually meet some good people and have a few laughs and enjoy life. Don't be consumed about, preparing yourself to have your, nest egg for when you get older. Enjoy life now. The guilty plea is a major milestone. Recovering money is the next challenge. I mean, there's going to be a challenge, but many hands make light work. Give us those crypto addresses or any payments. Let us know them so we can track them. What happens next in the federal case? Although Christopher Delgado signed a plea agreement, there are still several important steps before this chapter of the case becomes to an end. Court must first decide whether to formally accept the plea. So that's what's happening on the 30th of this month. And we've got Avengers who are literally going to be in the courtroom, and we'll come back with what's happened and we'll tell you exactly what the outcome is that. Now, I've got some things going down next week, getting some new carpet put down in the house, have to clear out all the bedrooms, may not have my recording studio back up and running in time, but hopefully we will. But if not, you'll know why. Assuming it does not accept the plea, assuming it does, the next stage is the preparation of the present investigation report, the PSR, a detailed report that helps the judge determine an appropriate sentence based on the offences, the financial losses, the impact on victims, and Delgado's level of compensation. Cooperation. So does that mean it may come up in the blog and I haven't read it yet, that people will be able to read victim statements? That's pretty powerful. One aspect of the sentencing progress is often overlooked is the opportunity for victims to be heard. Okay, victim impact statements can play an important role by explaining how the fraud affected families, financially, emotionally, and personally. Although my investigation has spoken with people who lost entire savings, which it has, life savings, and in some cases, lifelong friendships. Unfortunately, there's something that we didn't mention in here. We have actually lost one person to this investment scam. And that's why part of why I've had two people in my life decide to end their life themselves, and that has actually already happened. So please do not let this consume you. If you need to talk to somebody, don't be ashamed. You're not the only one. There's 2,000 investors out there, or 2,000 contracts. Don't let this consume you. But lifelong friendships have been broken. People who've said to me, like Steve Davis' friends said that I trust that guy with my life. I've walked into burning buildings with that guy, and now he's defrauded me out of all my money. And he's now even going after a young couple because he's just a dog. He's a bottom feeder. But those lifelong friendships that you spent years building, sometimes it's hard to process what just happened. Those stories deserve to be part of the court record because fraud isn't measured by dollars. It changes life. It changes life. Another issue I've been watching closely is whether federal prosecutors later asked the court to recognise the value of Delgado's cooperation. Pleading guilty is one thing, providing substantial assistance is another. So we want to see how forthcoming Christopher is. If his information leads to additional asset recovery or helps investigators build cases against others, I always forget that word.
Prosecutors
May ask the court to take that into cooperation into account during sentencing. So if Christopher gets 1 year in prison, just playing it out there, guys, then we know he's done a bloody good job at throwing everyone else under the bus. Now, what would you do if you were Christopher? If it doesn't, the agreement makes it clear that cooperation isn't simply assumed, it is to be earned. So he has to prove that he really is going to be truthful and helpful. For now, there is still far more questions than answers. We don't yet know the full extent of Christopher Delgado's cooperation, what information he has already provided behind closed doors. We don't know how long he's been actually cooperating. I believe he would have known this. I'm going to give you a wee illustration here for a while, or where that information may ultimately lead. Those answers will emerge over time, and that's where the patience comes in. And I'll continue following every court following, I promise you. Hearing and development, filing, hearing, and development as the case proceeds. So I've got a personal story, as I do. When I was happily married, I thought, don't get married, just saying. Anyway, we didn't have the best marriage, and my wife did love me, so she thought. And then one day she decided to tell me she wanted a divorce. Oh, that's in the garden. Doggies come in. Pick yourself in front of the camera, right? And Pixel has got dirt here. Dirt there, Pixel. Where did that come from? Get a face cloth, maybe. So anyway, I'm sitting here thinking my marriage is okay. It's not the best marriage in the world. And then my wife said to me she wanted a divorce. And I went, wow, okay, a divorce. All right, weren't quite expecting that. So instantly I'm sitting here trying to process the fact that I've just built this beautiful house in the country, purpose-built room, set up as an office, satellite on the dish, on the roof, and we were remote, living off the grid, not quite like living off the grid, but pretty much a little bit. And I had a nice lifestyle, and all of a sudden, wife wants a divorce. So I'm trying to process this. I remember that the next day I woke up and my whole body was aching to the point where I couldn't hardly walk. And I felt like I had something going wrong. So I went to the doctor and I said, look, Rachel wants a divorce and I'm physically in a lot of pain. He gave me some pills to put in an unknown location and said, go home and sleep it off. Here I am laying in my room. I could just get home, walked into the house, got into the bed. I'm looking out the window because I'm now in the spare bedroom. And my wife is on the horse on our $40,000 arena, going around and around in circles, having a good old time. Like there's no tomorrow. I'm in here in a whole lot of pain, trying to process the fact that she wants a divorce. And she's living the dream. She's just carrying on. She even thought she was going to keep the house and live the happy dream, whatever it was. Why was that? What went wrong? She'd spent 8 months trying to get enough courage to tell somebody that she loved, but not enough to stay for the rest of her life, that she wanted a divorce. She passed that on to me, and she got that off her chest. And then I had to process it with shock and horror. She was relieved, and she could carry on riding the horse in the arena. She was relieved. To me, she seemed like she was happy. And I'm going, wow, I've just got it. My whole life's going to change. Now, I believe that Christopher will be much the same. He's been living a lie for at least 4 years. He's been the man about town. Everyone's following him around. He's paying all the bills. He's everything. And then all of a sudden, Danny the Heck comes along and the Avengers, and we start exposing him. I wasn't the first person. I wasn't the first suspicious person, but I was the first person to start providing content exposing him and his merry men of co-conspirators. I believe Christopher will be relieved. I got told by some people that know him quite well that I would actually quite like Christopher and that I would probably get on with him. I don't hate Christopher. I don't have to hate Christopher. I weren't going after Christopher. This isn't a personal vendetta against Christopher. It's not a pissing competition against Goliath and David, or Danny and Goliath. It was nothing like that. I didn't want investors to lose their money. I have no beefs against Christopher whatsoever. In fact, if I met him, I'd shake his hand and say, here you go, mate. I don't hate him. I don't care what he did. I don't really have to hate him. But I do believe that he will be feeling some sense of relief. And from the people that have told me about him, they said I'd quite like him. So obviously he's a nice enough fella for people actually to be on Camp Christopher. I'd rather you on Camp Danny. But I think he'll be relieved to get this monkey off his back. Because living a lie must be hard work. And when I look at the photos I see of him, he's always smiling. To even pull this off, something's not right. The investigation is far from over. When I started investigating Goliath Ventures, I had no idea it would lead to bankrupt proceedings, a federal recoverer, civil forfeiture actions, and ultimately Christopher Delgado standing before the United States government admitting his role in fraud. Like every investigation I undertake, I simply followed the evidence. Every court filing answered one question while raising 7 more. Today, one of the biggest questions was finally answered. Christopher Delgado has pleaded guilty. But if there's one more thing I've learned from investigating hundreds of investment scams over the years, is that pleading a guilty plea really marks the end of a story. More often than not, It's the point where investigators began uncovering what's happening behind the scenes. It's like finding the chest, open it up, and everything's in there. Or you go to jail for 50 years. That's why I believe the cooperation provisions contained in the plea deal deserve just as much attention as the guilty plea itself. If Christopher Delgado honours his agreement, federal prosecutors may gain valuable insights into Goliath Ventures and how it really operated, where additional assets may be located, and whether other individuals knowingly participated in the conspiracy. Those answers won't appear overnight, but they could shape the next stage of the investigation. There are still important questions that remain unanswered. Will additional people be charged? Can more of the missing money be recovered? And it can. I know it can, because these guys.
New donation from someone.
Thank you, someone. I really appreciate it. You rock. That's nice. I'm getting closer to my goal. Yeah, we've got big dreams, guys. I believe that my Avengers are world class. And a couple of days ago, I received some amazing news where we really want to form an organisation called the Avengers, because I love what I do. And obviously this is a great slam dunk, this one. And I think we connect well with our audience. And I really do value the support that we've had. But I want to do more. Can more of the missing money be recovered? I have to say yes. Will victims receive meaningful restitution? I think restitution comes in different forms. It may not give you your money back. It's like when we've done this investigation. Like if I put this investigation into my book, not that I'm saying I'm publishing a book, but what chapter would this book play in my life? Would this have a chapter of its own? Would this be under the no scam chapter? Would this be 2 chapters? You know, what have we learned from this? Restitution. What is restitution? Like, what are you going to learn from this? Are you going to give your money to the next guy? Did you not give all your money? And, you know, I don't know. But there's more ways of getting restitution rather than just getting your assets back. It might be easy for me to say that because I don't have any assets. What evidence will Delgado now provide the investigators? Isn't that exciting? Like, if Christopher wants to redeem himself, now would be a good time, Chris. While you're still watching me on your big screen in your courtyard and your $8.5 million house having your parties, haven't really shown remorse, have you? You haven't. You've been on Channel 9 News and you want to say sorry and you want to make people whole. Well, you haven't even got a strategy around that. So that's an unsubstantiated claim. Saying you're sorry ain't going to cut the mustard when we've watched you piss people's money away. Having 18 Rolex watches isn't really going to cut the mustard, is it? You were trying to do the right thing by the investors, but you thought you needed 18 Rolex watches? Buying another Rolls Royce, having 2 Rolls Royces, Lamborghinis, Escalades, all those cars, all those houses you bought. What were you doing? Were you trying to build confidence with people? Or were you just on some high of some sort of spending drug? I don't know. However, your life is basically shit. You've ruined your life. You've ruined your family, your kids, your ex-wife. No one's proud of you anymore, Chris. You're not the man about town. You're the scumbag. You're the bottom feeder. You're the lowlife. You're the absolutely nobody man. You're just a piece of worthless shit. And you're going to be wearing a pair of $3 overalls for the rest of your life. And whenever you get out, you'll be shackled. You'll be in handcuffs. You'll be eating food that tastes like it's scraped off the floor. No offense to the chefs. But You're not going to be eating that caviar. You're never going to get alcohol that tastes like real alcohol. You're going to be drinking stuff that's made out of bloody apples that have gone moldy. Prison cell wine. But you could redeem yourself. You could become someone who actually provides as much information and provides as much relief to victims as you can. You've already proved that you're an arsehole. You've already stolen people's money. You're a common thief. You're a modern day thief. Now is a chance where you can do something with your life. You're well networked. You're smart to a certain degree. But now it's time to show people that you are remorseful for what you've done. And it's time to actually buddy up with the feds and tell them everything. Don't be a bastard for your whole life. Show people remorse, true remorse. Not, I'll do whatever I have to do, but no more. Go full in. You've got nothing else to do with your life now other than help this investigation. These questions can only be answered through evidence, not speculation. As always, I continue renewing the court filings, following the legal proceedings, and speaking with victims as new information becomes available. The guilty plea is an important milestone, but the search for accountability doesn't end here. For many victims, justice won't be measured by Christopher Delgado's sentence alone. If he gets 50 years in prison, it's not going to help anybody. It will be measured by how much of the truth is uncovered. Give people closure, Chris, as many people are ultimately held accountable, and how much money finds its way back to people who lost it. I mean, imagine leaving a legacy that's amazing by actually doing the right thing now. I mean, it's hard for me to even think that Krista might do the right thing. And to be honest, hand on heart, I don't believe it's possible. But if he doesn't help the investigators, at least we all have peace of mind that he's going to get 50 years in jail. 50 years in jail. They've signed a plea deal, 50 years in jail, or potentially have little less. So you're 35 years of age now. I'm not quite sure how old you are. 50 years is going to make you 85 years old if you make it out of the prison. If you don't get beaten up, if you don't get molested every day by some big guy, I won't say what colour. If you how are you going to survive? Every time you help somebody, you're now 83 years of age when you get out of prison. And then you help, now you're 82 years. How much can you reduce your 50 years in prison? Read the court documents yourself if you want some closure here. One thing I've always encouraged people to do is read the source documents. Don't take me on my words and my interpretation of what they are. Don't rely solely on headlines, social media posts, or even my reporting. Court filings can provide the opportunity to see exactly what federal prosecutors have alleged, and in this case, exactly what Christopher Delgado has admitted under oath. He's admitted guilt. There's no more speculation about Goliath Ventures running a real company. I've embedded both of the documents below so you can read them for yourself. Just click on those links. It will take you off to the documents. If you've been following the Goliath Ventures stories from the beginning, I encourage you to take time to work through both documents. Together, they explain not only how I'm forgetting that word. Prosecutors say this scheme operated, but also what Christopher Delgado has now admitted, and the obligations he has accepted as part of the cooperation agreement. Whether you're a victim, a journalist, a regulator, or someone simply trying to understand this case, there is no subtle substitute for reading the evidence firsthand. As this investigation continues to unfold, I'll keep doing what I've done from the very beginning, reviewing the documents, comparing them with earlier evidence, speaking with victims, and reporting developments as they happen. The story of Goliath Ventures didn't end with the guilty plea, and I don't believe we've heard the last chapter yet. So if you're a victim, what should you be doing now? Sitting on your hands, watching everyone else do the hard work? While the legal process continues, there are several practical steps victims can take to protect their interest. If you're invested in Goliath Ventures now, isn't the time to put your paperwork away and hope someone else deals with it. Keep copies of your investment records, payment confirmations, cryptocurrency transactions histories, emails, and correspondence that you've had with Goliath Ventures or its promoters, the Co-Conspirators. Documents that seem insignificant today may become important below. It's also essential to keep your contact details up to date with the receivers and ensure you have lodged a proof of claim. Now, as we mentioned earlier on, they have a website where you can find out everything you need to. Deadlines for file claims, the 30th of December 2026, and you've got 1 minute before midnight. Okay, so that website is Goliath Ventures BK, bankrupt, BK. Goliath Ventures bankrupt, BK.com, right? All right, so file a proof of claim before the applicable deadline. The criminal proceedings, the civil forfeiture case, bankrupts, and receiverships are all moving independently. It's like a Swiss watch or a Rolex. So following only one part of the process can mean missing important developments of another. Finally, if you have any information to assist the investigators, don't assume someone else has already provided it. Every document, transaction record, wallet address, email, or message may build a clearer picture how Goliath Ventures actually operated. Although throughout this investigation, it seems I've seen countless examples where one seemingly minor piece of evidence helps explain a much larger part of the story. That's why I've continued encouraging victims to come forward as they share what they know. So the other really important thing is, in the last 5 weeks, I know Susie has actually has done probably more investigation than she's ever done, building this amazing spider web of crypto wallet addresses and being able to tag them. And some of the stuff, even this morning when we was talking, Susie isn't the only one going after this, but I kind of like to hear where she's getting to. But even this morning, certain names that people have mentioned loop back to evidence that we've just discovered. Every time this federal case comes out, we go through it and we go, yes, we knew that, 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 we knew that. Oh, that's interesting. We follow that lead and it leads somewhere else. It's really amazing. The federal investigation is only just the beginning. Christopher Delgado has now admitted his role as one of the largest alleged cryptocurrency investment. I don't know why you put alleged in there, ChatGPT. Cryptocurrency investment frauds to come before a federal court in recent years. For many victims, that's an important milestone, but it isn't the outcome they've been waiting for. What they want is accountability, the recovery of as many assets as possible, and answers to the questions that still remain. Over the coming months, attention will shift away from whether Christopher Delgado committed these crimes and towards the wider investigation. Federal prosecutors can now have a cooperating defendant. The receivers continue tracing the assets. Civil forfeiture proceedings remain active, and victims still coming forward with this information. Those separate pieces now have the potential to come together in ways they couldn't have before the guilty plea. So it's a really good thing. If there's one question I've learned from investigating, if there's one lesson I've learned from investigating these types of schemes, it is the biggest developments often happen after the first guilty plea. Now, and this is so true. This is like, this sort of opens a hornet's nest. Documents are produced, financial records are analyzed, witnesses begin talking, and this is what we're seeing right now. People are corresponding with us now. It's like I mentioned about the ex-wife when she told me she wanted a divorce, and I'm sitting there trying to process it. She's got it off her chest. Same with these victims. Now they realize that it's out in the open and he was committing fraud, complete fraud, and it's a real big deal that he's pleaded guilty. Now the victims are more freely speaking to us. And that was a big hurdle that we had to overcome at the start. We couldn't get victims who wanted to go on record and talk to us about anything. We literally had to pry this open. And it was just amazing. Okay, investigators gain a much clearer understanding of how an operation really functioned behind closed doors, so they can see it. Is really cool. I will continue following every court filing, every hearing, and every significant development of the case as it unfolds. If more charges are laid, if additional assets are recovered, or if new evidence emerged, I will report it. I may not be the first person to chuck it onto the news and give you a 5-minute story, but I will give you a 2-hour and 41 deep dive breakdown. Now Christopher Delgado has admitted his crimes. The next chapter begins. The next chapter belongs to the federal investigators. Now they are sort of the unsung heroes in some way, because they're not going to get the media coverage. But they are the people that go after these co-conspirators. Don't let these guys get away with it, ladies and gentlemen, because, there's lots of other stuff coming up in the not too distant future. I was out for dinner last night with somebody I love, and I said, she was congratulating me on this. And I said, I don't know what drives me. And I said that, but I have this sense where I would fight this, and this might sound reckless, but in some ways I would fight this to the death, because I think it's important for some people to stand up. But I'm not the only one that will do that. And then you've got to question, like yesterday I did a live and I actually struggled to actually do the live. I just had a lot going on. Maybe it was Tuesday, I can't remember when it was, but one day this week I was, I still don't sleep very well. I don't know why sometimes we do these things. I don't know what your why is. I don't know why you hang out in my chat room and chat to me. I don't know why you support the work that we do, but I kind of do. But it's just a really weird thing. I mean, why do we have people like Christopher who think they have a right to steal your money and then just blow it like water? This guy's got 12 sports cars, 18 Rolex watches, 7 properties, Louis Vuitton, a pool table. He's got cufflinks with diamonds in them with his brand. He didn't do it all by himself. He distributed the money to these people that you see standing behind him. Do you want him to get away with that? Christopher now claims, part of his exit strategy, that he's now going to dob in all these guys. Technically. Do you think anyone in this picture isn't going to be put under the magnifying glass? Do you think that even anybody in this picture is going to be ignored? Do you think the federal prosecutors are going to look at this picture here and think, wonder where Danny got all these names from? Well, we have a database on each and every one of those people. We have screenshots that are given to us by the public, the investors, the people that coerce them into it. Nick Petrillo, as I said, 900 investors. Punit Shaw, 500 investors. He had a 7% club. Matt Burks, well, he was going after 401ks. I mean, I did this all before. Jonathan Mason, Jay Newton, Canadians, Hunter Smallback. We know your mum was appalled with you getting involved with Goliath Ventures. but she was, we know where she works. We know what she do. Tomo, your brother that has got a $400,000 investor under his belt. Tomo here, these guys are all co-conspirators. Don't let them away with it. Help us with this investigation. We're not giving up on you. Don't you give up on us. Don't you send me messages saying, why haven't they arrested them yet? You need to be patient. Don't underestimate the power of what we can do using open source intelligence. Don't underestimate the power of using AI to do research, cross-reference stuff, read large documents quickly. I mean, I was literally in the High Court in New Zealand on Tuesday. I can't remember what day it was. Don't even know what day of the week it is now. And there was a video that we were discussing. Within seconds, I dropped the video, got the transcript, found the line in the video to tell the judge what this guy made a claim of. That you wouldn't be able to do that. So now, timing is everything. I think the US government wants to make an example of people like these co-conspirators. I am an entrepreneur. I'm a business person. Business is not about a product or service. Business is actually about timing. It is about being passionate about what you believe. It's about having a belief. It isn't always mindset. It is about having good people in your life. Who do you break bread with? Who do you turn to when something goes wrong in life? Who do you hang out with that makes you laugh? Do you go into your wardrobe, put on all your nice suit and your clothes and walk through the streets and go, look at me, look at me, look at me? Or can you just be yourself and not strive after happiness? Are you fully content in your life? Happiness, self-worth, values, ethics, all these things make people these days. You don't need this friggin' money shit. I've had money. I had enough money to see what money's like. And, it's great. It's great. But it's also the biggest, the most destroyable thing that you can have in your life. You get money, you lose money. Business is up and down like a roller coaster. There's no, if you're fortunate enough and you're not worried about money, good on you. But friendships, relationships are everything. And unfortunately, these Ponzi schemes and scams are designed to build trust. And that's the yin and the yang. The trust is the first part. The second part is relationships. You build trust with people that you form relationships with. And when these Ponzi schemes build that trust, they take advantage of friends and family. And it destroys relationships. Don't let money get in the way of relationships, because they are the most important things in the world. Hey, I love you guys, and thank you to everyone that's been in the chat room today. Thank you for the donations. I really appreciate them. I've got some things happening around home over the next few days. I haven't got anything prepared. This was a big one that I wanted to get off my back before Friday. I think it's Friday. Is it Friday or Thursday? It's Friday. It's Friday. So there we go. I thought I had a day up my sleeve. So, yes, so I've got work tomorrow and maybe Sunday. Monday, I'm ripping out 3 bedrooms so we can get some new carpet put down. And then I will be putting it back together hopefully Tuesday night. And you may see me Wednesday. But if you see me broadcasting in between there, it's sheer luck or something big broke. But I'll try to be here for you guys. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you for watching. I'm Danny the Heck and the Avengers. Woo! Now, before I go, I am actually going to play that song one more time because I love it. So here we go. And I'll leave it with this. I hope you have a good day. Be safe. And we'll see you. But let's play the song out and I'll see you in the next song. I'll see you in the next video.
Oh yeah. Hey Christopher. Thought the spotlight would last forever. Now the whole world's watching. Let's go. Walked in flashing all that gold. Thought the story would never get old. Private jets and handcuffs go clink, makes the whole room think. Ooh, that's the sound they bring. Crypto wallets leave a trail, blockchains always tell the tale. Every transfer, every coin, now investigators join. Funny how the heroes hide when the paperwork arrives. Funny how the loudest crowd suddenly ain't talking loud. Ooh, hear those whispers growing, everybody's nervous knowing what confessions start to change. Now they're wondering who's name. Every time that courtroom door swings wide, I hear blue lights flashing in my mind. Built an empire on borrowed time. Now you're running out of time. Yeah, the gavel goes bang. Hear the courtroom sing. Yeah, the headlines roll, taking quite a toll. Ooh, who's the next to fold? No more penthouse celebrations, only legal conversations. No more selfies, no champagne, just another prison train. If the phones stop ringing now, who'll explain the why and how? Every promise has a cost, every shortcut ends up lost. Hey Christopher, remember all those standing ovations? Now it's all right. Every time that the truth comes out, you can hear the whole room shouting loud. Justice doesn't care about the crowd. Every blockchain sings out loud. Yeah, the gavel goes bang. Hear the echoes ring. Yeah, the truth rolls on. Long after you're gone, the wallets don't forget, the victims won't forget, the blockchain won't forget. Who's singing now? Hey Christopher, you love the spotlight. Now you got front row seats to Orange County. Game over. Oh yeah.
Won't stop. All right, guys. Hope you enjoyed that. Yeah, and it was actually, I'll tell you what I did. When I created the lyrics for that song, I wrote the lyrics from the blog, and then I went and got the words from the trumpet song that Jason Derulo sings, and then I told ChatGPT to use similar words and basically merge them together. And then when I produced the song on Suno, I think it's called Suno, I told it to, I went to the internet and asked what type of music Jason Derulo produces, and it told me. And then I went in there and I told it to create a song using the same genre. And that's what it came out with. And then it came out with a female version, which didn't sound very good. And then I told it to be male. And 6 attempts later, we got that song. I know that's brilliant. So if you go through my shorts, you'll see whenever I've done a Christopher video where possible, I've added Jason Derulo's song Trumpets Play. So it's quite funny. Anyway, guys, I love you all. I'm going to go. It's Friday. Enjoy your evening if you've got any left. And we'll see you in the next video. I'm Danny the Heck and the Avengers. See you guys.